All right, this episode of Hunt Suburbia is with Jim Gallagher and Keith Regan, both coming back on the podcast for the second time, this time together. Those guys have been hunting together I was going to say their whole lives, but for a long time. They've been hunting together more than 20 years. They're best hunting buddies. They work really well together. We talk a lot about, what it means to hunt as a team, to have a good hunting buddy. Some of the things they do when they do hunt together and hunt in tandem that are really interesting. And I think that you should pay attention to all these things. I think this podcast is probably one of the best podcasts in terms of little tips, little tricks, little things that you should rethink how you think about certain scenarios and certain places you're going to find yourself in during the hunting season. These guys are making you rethink it a little bit. I think this one is really jam-packed with little things that are going to make a big difference. So watch all the way through. I think it's 2 hours long, but well worth the time investment. And then obviously Hunt Stock now is only 2 weeks away. The big news, the big announcement was Lanny Benoit is coming. Lanny, I was hanging out with him last weekend up in Vermont at the lake house, and he's excited. He hasn't done seminars in a long time. He's like, I think I should do a couple of seminars. So it's official. He's coming down. He will be there all 3 days. He's doing a seminar all 3 days. He's going to be hanging out, shooting the shit with everybody. Like, that's what he does best. He's going to do that all weekend. And then on Sunday, we're going to do the Hunt Suburbia podcast live from the stage, basically like a Living Legends series, but live and in the flesh. That should be a lot of fun. So if you haven't got your Hunt Stock tickets yet, go to the link here in the description. It's on Ticket Leak. Buy your tickets there. Reserve at least Saturday. Saturday is the one that's in danger most of selling out. We're capped at 2,000 people on the farm. So if you really want to be there Saturday, get your tickets in advance. Buy a 3-day pass. It's the best bang for your buck. You're going to be able to schedule and plan an itinerary over 3 days where you might, I'll shoot the 3D archery course on Friday. I'll see these seminars on Saturday, and then these seminars on Sunday that I didn't get to see on Saturday. Go on. I'm really encourage you, go online, look at the schedule, kind of plan out your itinerary for the weekend, so you can get the most out of Hunt Stock and what the weekend's going to be. And I'm really looking forward to it. Again, it's just 2 weeks away, but it's going to be here before I know it, and then it's going to be gone and done, and everyone's going to have an awesome time, and we'll be planning next year's Hunt Stock to get bigger and better. But I'm really looking forward to it. Lanny's looking forward to it. Hal Blood's looking forward to it. Rick Labby, everybody at Big Woods Bucks, Jeff Parody, Neil Pendleton, Timmy Bolduc, the entire line, the Sheerans, the Goodley, Joe Cruzy. There's a bunch of guys coming down from Big Woods Bucks. Everybody in Northwoods Whitetails looking forward to it. Just Hunt Club. There's going to be a ton of awesome people. You guys have heard the spiel over and over again. I don't need to keep giving it. I'll see you guys at Hunt Stock. Listen to this podcast all the way through with Jim Gallagher and Keith Regan. All right, we got another episode of Hunt Suburbia podcast, a couple repeat guests, and talk about hunting buddies. People who listen to this wish they had a hunting buddy. You guys have been hunting together for a long time, have killed a lot of deer together. Yeah. And it's Jim Gallagher and Keith Regan, and welcome again, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. This place is great.
Yep.
Can't wait for Hunt Fest.
Yeah. Hunt Stock's coming up soon. A lot of people calling it Hunt Fest.
Yeah. I heard that.
These guys rode down together. I wonder what they were talking about in the car. Probably deer.
Anything but work.
Got a beautiful buck on the table. We've got some show and tell stuff we'll bring up a little bit later too. But yeah, man, let's start. We were just talking before we started here, and Keith was on the last podcast and was talking about it was your 100th deer that you killed?
Yeah. I told the story, went all through it, and then I made a mistake, and I said it was 110 pounds, but it's actually 210-pound buck.
Yeah, it was a 210-pound buck.
Yeah, it was a beautiful rack buck.
So correct the record.
When I listened to it again, I'm like, I kind of let down there with the 110 pounds. Like,
I'm going to have to go back and listen to it. And why don't you briefly retell that story? Briefly retell that one.
it was
your 100th deer.
yeah. Basically, I was out for a morning hunt, and it was a work day, so I wanted to get out of there at 9:00.
Yeah.
Took a stand, got out there early, and nothing was coming by. So about 8:30 or so, I saw something coming through the woods. It was a decent buck, and it was heading down to this thick area. And basically, it jumped over the stone wall, heading to this thick spot, I assumed to bed down for the day. But I called to it. It stopped. It turned around and came back to the edge of the stone wall and stood there for about 5 minutes. And I waited quite a bit, and he just stand there. So I kind of cuffed my mouth and turned my head and made another deer call. And it jumped over the stone wall, did a little circle, it circled down, walked into my shooting lane and stopped right in my shooting lane about 30 yards out. And I drew back, and I made a nice shot on it. I actually had it on video, and it was a 210-pound buck.
What do you have for headgear? That's a big
It
deer.
was a 7-pointer.
Yeah.
But this part of the story was I had shot that deer the year before and didn't get it. Jim and I tracked the thing all day long. And we tracked it across 2 roads, some swamps.
The day before.
Year before. Yeah. And the last spot we saw that, I didn't actually see it. We were on the other side of this little brook swampy spot.
Yeah.
And this deer jumped up and took off, and Jim got a glimpse of it, and it was a rack buck. And we had caught up to it like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had tracked it since daylight. And right where the thing jumped up is right where I shot it. A year later, he was bedding down in that same spot.
Bed.
In that same area.
Yeah.
And he was heading right for that spot there when I shot it.
You know, that brings up kind of that Euro back there, the first deer last year that I got, and where I found it dead, and where it had bedded before. I wonder, because I was kind of theorizing when I was shooting the video that, you know, maybe this is his favorite bed. He kind of went back to his favorite bed to die.
Guaranteed.
You know, what do you think?
Yeah, safe spot.
Definitely.
He's trying to find a safe spot where he's going to be, feeling a little secure or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I brought a set of horns here from the Lady Diana buck, and that was one that same kind of story. We'll get to that later though.
Yeah, but I think that's just so if people like maybe take note of where you shoot when you shoot a deer and you're tracking it, where it beds.
Yeah.
And if you got on X or whatever, if you're putting it up in your mind, remember those beds, because maybe that's where they feel the safest, and that could be a big buck bed year after year.
oh yeah, you shoot a big buck in that area, and it's a good spot. That's why he's there.
Yeah.
They feel safe there, and it's a good location for whatever the reason. There's going to be other deer taking that spot over.
Yeah.
Well, even with him talking about that buck right there, like there was a year before that when he actually killed it. I was going in a tree stand with him where he actually did shoot it that year, and he wounded it. But in my eyes, he found 2 spots where that deer had a regular bed, and just from him hunting, you know what I mean? And he shot it in one place, and then he shot with the other place about 700, 800 yards away, right?
Yeah, around there.
But it was the same deer. And I can remember we climbed that tree together, like we're in one, I'm in the other. We were trying to videotape that deer and him shoot it, you know what I mean? And it never came by when there was 2 of us in the tree, but he got it to come by in that tree, and he got it to come by in the other tree twice, you know. So, but
Yeah, there was at one
was a
point
pretty
he
good
had
one.
kept coming by just after shooting light,
yeah,
and I could hear him walking by, and knowing it's a decent buck. And when I actually shot him the day before, there was 5 does that went through that spot, and I didn't shoot at any of them. I was waiting for a buck at that point, and I had made a fake scrape there, and he kept coming back to that scrape. And when I shot him, when I wounded him and didn't get him, he was actually standing in the scrape that I made, peeing in it. And I was a nice quarter-away shot. I just shot a little too high and didn't get him. But there was a definite wound in his back. I got it on video, the whole thing. It's actually, Jim put it on YouTube quite a few years back.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah, if you look up New
long
Hampshire bow hunters, I think it comes up on that.
Yeah, I got to go back and look. I watched a lot of your videos before the last time you came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually videotaped the deer that after I shot it, where the wound was on his back and everything. But yeah, it's sad to wound him and not get him like that. But to know it's the same deer, it's pretty crazy to shoot him in that spot.
Now you said something which is just a little thing, but we should touch on it a little bit. So you curved your hand around, and so were you doing that to make it sound like the grunt was further behind?
Yeah, he was only
doesn't
about
look right at you.
He's only 50 yards away.
Yeah.
And if you call right at him, he's going to look right up at you. So
Like I'll
it
do
was
that
fairly
in the tree
thick.
stand. Just turn around and
Yeah.
So,
send your sound behind you.
Yeah,
You gotta make sure they're looking the other way though too.
Totally. Yeah.
it was a real thick spot where I was hunting. There was a bunch of small pine trees, so it was pretty thick where he was looking into, so he couldn't really see the area where there could be a deer hiding in there. So sometimes if it's wide open, they look over and they're like, no, I ain't going over there. There's nothing there, you know.
Yeah, but just trying to throw your sound behind you.
Yes, because I really call when sometimes they're too close to call. You know, a lot of people call to them and they look right at them and then they take off. You gotta, if they're too close, just
wait for them to turn their head,
right, or walk away a little bit.
Yeah, walk away a little bit, or get behind a tree. It's all, timing is everything, and when you move, when they're that close to you.
Yeah, you can't even blink.
You really,
You can't.
I don't look at them in the eye either.
I squint my eyes and look through the bow like this.
Hide behind the bow. Break your outline up.
Yeah, that's a huge thing in my eyes too. Is hide behind the bow, and I don't know if you sit down in your tree when a deer comes in, but I stand up every time.
I stand up.
Yeah, you got to lean against a tree. You don't want to silhouette yourself like a lump, on the side of a tree. But we go up so high, they still look up at me here and there, but they very seldom.
Not too often.
How high do you guys go up again?
About 30 feet.
Average from my tree stand is 13.5 yards. I entered 47 trees one year. And counted them all, and each time I range find it, and that's what I came up in average height.
Yeah,
I mean, but this,
10 yards is 30 feet. So
yeah, that's close to 40 feet. I mean,
not. Sometimes it depends on the time of the year too. If it's a thick canopy and you get up too high, sometimes it's like you don't have a good shot.
You have to come down a little bit.
In the wintertime, it's more than wide open, so you go a little higher.
Yeah. Well, even I guess it's kind of dangerous to do to some degree, the way we climb our tree stands, but you get to about 25 feet up the tree, and you have to readjust the tree stand, or else it's going to be leaning like this.
Yeah.
So you basically put your chest on the climbing aid, grip the tree stand with your back of your knees, undo it, readjust it, click it in again, and then start climbing again.
But are you tethered onto the tree?
No. Oh, I frame houses for a living. I'm 60 years old now, and I walk across a 2x6 wall that's 20 feet off the ground. You just have no fear when you do it every day. You know what I mean? And even though now I'm trying to stay on the ground more with the guys I work with, but I just don't have a fear of height. You know what I mean?
You're like those free climbers that
scale those guys are crazy.
No, not that radical, but I mean.
No, but if you don't have any fear and you're super confident, I'm not saying. I would encourage everybody to strap themselves in.
Oh, me too.
100%.
Yeah, you definitely should be strapped in.
Right, you should be, and I should be doing it, especially I'm 60 now, so I mean, how many times?
How old are you, Keith?
64.
64. Yeah. And how long you guys been hunting together? How'd you guys meet again?
At a 3D archery
3D shoot,
yeah. A friend of mine took me to a shoot, and he knew Jim.
Yeah.
And we started
going
shooting together. Yeah.
Then
we didn't start hunting for a few years later, but
just used to talk here and there, and we both pick up material at the same place for work, and then we started 3D shooting. So, Keith, what do you want to come to Connecticut? And that's like another thing he said in the other podcast. It was like, it's a pretty big farm. It's 100 acres. It's 1,200 acres.
Yeah,
he's always shooting himself with zeros. But I mean, a lot of the places that we hunt right now, they're not big woods, but the smallest piece I actually hunt is 11 acres, and it's attached to maybe 40 acres of field, but it's a little tiny piece. And I just got permission across the street from that place this spring, and there's 300 acres on that side of the street that's been posted for at least 8 years. And I got to hunt it the last of the season last year, and
it was good.
It's gonna. Oh, I know it's gonna be good. It's basically the opposite end of that lone wolf buck that I chased for years, And even like this year, I was listening to the podcast. I listen to it all the time, and I'm listening to Jeff Doyle talk, And I'm saying, man, I'm gonna be home with like 15, 20 minutes of light. I'm gonna go in there and there's snow on the ground. I'm gonna go in there and look at the place where I used to see the lone wolf buck track in there in the mud or whatever, And when I went in there, and there was a huge track in there, and 2 years after I hadn't seen that lone wolf buck, I went in there. I never seen any deer in there, just very, very few. Every time I did see a deer, it was a rack buck chasing a doe or it was a rack buck with another rack buck. And it always seemed like that same buck, you know. And I went to one year to the next, I seen 13 different deer in there, and I never seen anything big. They were all yearlings, 4-pointers. But I got really excited because I went in there and looked in the snow. I said, oh, that's a huge track. I know it's a 180-pound deer, you know. So, you know, in between then we bought trail cameras for the first time. And he's got one in the woods, and I know I'm going to do it. But it just feels like, I said to myself one time, well, maybe when I turn 60, I'll be old then. I'm going to have to use trail cameras, something like that, you know what I mean? But now I look at the places that I've hunted for
Talk
years.
yourself into it.
Yeah, I've hunted for years, and there's certain places I go, I see bucks in this place all the time, bucks in this place all the time, and every now and then there's a doe in here and there and stuff like that. But I want to sit it in those places and see, I know I'm not going to have it up in the year too, but how many bucks am I missing in those places that go by when I'm not there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
A
it
lot.
seems like most of the places I go, there's quite a bit of shock and pressure in these places, and I go in there, I see bucks, but you know, very seldom do I see. You know, it's one place I've hunted for 20 years. In 20 years, I've shot at 2 bucks in there. One was at the deer I killed last year, and one was another one that I got on video. I hit it when I had the broken drop away rest, and that was in that film that I got to look. So, you know, a lot of that film I mean, when I tell you it's thick, if you're on the ground, you can't see 15, 20 feet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm up
That's
in the
where you want to
tree.
be, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, and even then, you
No
know,
wide open spots.
Yep.
20 yards from that spot, that
Find a
deer's
little
standing
opening
water.
in that thick
Yeah,
stuff, you know.
Yeah. There's so many places that I just love the thick stuff, you know, but man, they still don't move that easy. They want to stay in that, and I listen to these guys, you know, on this year, they say all the time, you know, which is 100% right. They always circle downwind. They always circle downwind. Me and him set up so many times where who's going to horn rattle first, depending on where the wind is, and the guy downwind is most likely going to see the deer. You know what I mean? So we take turns doing stuff like that all the time. And the only
That's
deer
smart.
but we know this swamp that we're hunting. You know, the wind's blowing across from me to him. So there's 2 of us in line.
Mm-hmm.
So when these deer circle downwind, there's 2 of us in line.
Yep.
So that's twice as much scent as most people are used to having. Nobody hunts that close together, you know. You know, that one point is the little drop time buck's the only deer I ever shot with a drop
So
time.
if the wind's going this way, you would
set up right
rattle.
here. He's set up right here.
Yeah.
I'm set up right there. He's set up here.
Yeah.
He horn rattles, the deer circle downwind to smell him,
Yeah.
and I'm there.
Yeah.
You know?
And he might smell them and go right to you.
Exactly.
Go the
that's
opposite
exactly
way.
it, you know.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, I think it was opening day. I can't remember years anymore. But one of the time we set up in there, he's gonna horn rattle first, and I'm sitting there. I'm in my tree stand, and I can hear a deer coming, and I'm like, it's walking right to the swamp. I get a scent trail from the tassel gland. If it crosses my scent trail, it's gonna come in like this, and then circle around and come to me over here. Should be able to shoot it right here, and I can hear the thing come, but I'm afraid to move because I can't see it. I know it's close, and I just don't want to move.
Yeah.
You know. Finally, if I see it, it's right here, following my scent trail. And I remember it was just barely getting light. And I stands up, it looks away, draws back all in one motion, draws back, and there's pine needles in my face because I hadn't had a chance to cut the things out of my way yet. And
Yeah.
I puts it on and I let the arrow go, and I killed the deer, you know. But me and him set each other up like that so many times, you can't even remember. We shot 400 something deer
Yeah,
between
we've
us.
been
And
hunting for 20 years.
20, we
And I want to talk about double team strategy and some of
Yeah.
the things that you guys do. But let's go back to the trail cameras first. Did you guys put any out yet? You got them, or are you waiting for a certain time? Or?
Yeah, I used them a little bit last season. I had
Yeah.
a few deer on film. I've got one out there now. I've been getting pictures of some does and fawns and stuff. But I don't know. I haven't been in there moving around. I keep saying I got to go move it
Yeah.
and put it in different spots. But
Yeah.
you know, it's just so busy. It's something else
Yeah,
for me to do.
totally.
But,
And
you know,
it
it's-
kind of
it's-
sucks
it's-
walking in the woods in like July too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
With all the deer
Yeah.
flies and the mosquitoes and
Yeah.
everything. But you know, it almost seems like the same thing every year. The season comes on as fast. We're busy working. We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time to go scouting and stuff.
Yeah.
So we usually just go in, some of the main trails instead of going in where the deer are. Just check the perimeter. If there's fresh tracks in there, we go in there and hunt it. And a lot of times we scout as we go through the season. Put your tree stand on, walk through the piece of woods. If you find fresh sign, we hunt it. So we don't really have a lot of bucks that we know that are going to be there all the time. There's some from previous years that we know about that we bucks that we haven't shot that we've seen previous year. Last year I seen a couple I didn't get. So try to go after those bucks. But
and something Jim just said too about looking at a track and going, well, now I know there's a big buck in there. For guys who don't put up trail cameras and scout as you go, you probably do a lot of looking at tracks, and that's probably a lot of how you hone in on a spot is finding the big
it's pretty
track,
old
right?
school,
Yeah.
old school stuff. Yeah.
And that's something I actually haven't been doing too much, but I've been hearing a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
Obviously the trackers find big tracks and they'll track them, but for stand
Yeah,
hunters,
it's different with the snow on the ground.
walking into a place, if you see a big old donkey track.
And that's what's great about swamps too. Is like I had one place that I'll even say it's a sawmill swamp. They cut all the trees down out of it. I brought that rack with me too. That was the last big one I killed in New Hampshire. I think it was 4 years ago. I think I've wounded 2 or 3 since then with the drop away resting, which kind of really sucked for me, to tell you the truth. But anyways, I did that one there. I can remember going into this place and just the way the swamp funnels in. It's this one here.
Yeah, pull it up. Show. If you're gonna talk about them, show. Yeah.
This is a deer that now I never seen pictures of this deer.
9-pointer.
Yeah, it's a 9-pointer.
Put it right here. Oops.
I never seen pictures of it because I didn't have any cameras on it. That was about it's about 800 yards from the car. And Keith has hunted in there with me once or twice before, not many times. And I remember going in there and I shot a small 8-pointer in there. I think 3 years before I shot that one.
Yep.
And when I shot it, it was with another deer. And I didn't see the other deer until that one ran away after I shot it. And so I went in there the following year, and there's 2 more sets of, that was a 173-pound deer. And there's 2 sets of tracks coming out of the swamp, and I'm saying, that's another great, look at this. You can't hide tracks in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
If they're walking on a logging road, they don't always sink in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's
But
one
this
stream
track-
that goes through that particular spot.
That's
where
right.
you walk up the stream, and it's usually pretty dried up, but
Yep.
you can see tracks really
So you
easily.
got places that you'll go back to because that spot's there, and you'll go check it and see what's been
Right.
Yeah,
walking
it's
through.
easy to see the tracks in
Yeah.
that particular spot. Going
And
up the
then
stream.
that there is it's another one. And I got this kill on video too. And I remember the last time I was talking about that podcast, and I had videotaped the whole hunt, but you can hear it coming up behind me, but it's coming out of the swamp, which is maybe 20 yards behind me, and it's so thick. It's another one of these swamps that you can't see 25 feet in that direction, and I can hear it coming out. I basically went in there in the dark, climbed up my tree, social snorted once, and I'm sitting there. 5 minutes later, I can hear something coming out of the swamp. But
What's a social snort?
It's just blowing like a deer.
one was blowing my nose once. It's out of.
But not a snort wheeze.
No,
Yeah,
just a snort.
just a snort.
Yeah.
Just a snort. And I can hear the deer coming, and I don't want to move. Next thing you know, I see it right here. It's going to walk by 4 feet from the bottom of my tree. It walks straight out in front of me like this. Now it's looking away. I press the camera to record, and it stops right in front of me. I stands up like this. I draws the bow back like this. I puts it down on it, and I'm saying, man, here we go with that straightaway shot again. If it runs to the right, I'm going to shoot down the left. It runs to the left, I'm going to shoot down the right. And I says, you know what? I'm going to take the shot. And I let the shot go, and I drilled it, And it took off, ran up the hill 120 yards and fell over, But just tracks in the mud for us is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Especially if, like I said, you're not using cameras, you know what I mean? And that was one
And
of my
even if you
favorite
are
spots.
using cameras, though, you can't deny, like you said, you're not hiding it.
Yeah.
A big track in the mud is going to
Yeah.
be a big
Yeah,
track,
that's
and it's
right.
going to, even if you're using, you have a camera with you,
Yeah.
drop it there.
Yeah.
Drop it. Find a scrape or something near that big
Well,
track.
I've been hunting so long in my life, especially more in the last 10 years around my own house. Me and him used to hunt everywhere. We used to hunt 5 states a year.
Keith, did you
We
ever go
never-
to Vermont? Or you weren't?
No, I didn't know him then.
Yeah.
No, I've only hunted it once.
The West Rutland.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
He that was way before we
Yeah,
ever
he
met.
was-
That
he
was
was youngster then.
15 years before, maybe
Yeah.
even more. My dates aren't that great, but
Yeah, a long time.
Your dates aren't that great, and your sizes.
Yeah.
Downsizing.
I mean, we're just talking on the way here. We made that our first video 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 20 years. I mean, we're just figuring that out driving here, and I'm saying, man, I can't even believe I can't figure out if it was 13 years ago, 15 years ago. When did we make? And I'm asking him because I did it with him. You know what I mean? We're trying to figure out how old my son is, and that's how long it's been. You know what I mean? We made it. We first
Crazy.
one Jim's Tricks, and then Jim's Tricks 2, and that was 2 or 3 years later, maybe. I'm not even sure. But.
Yeah, been doing this podcast for 2 years. It doesn't seem like that either.
Yeah,
that's just 2 years, but.
Well, it's like from now, 20 years, like 20 years ago from now, so much has changed. Like, back then trail cameras really weren't around. They were to some degree, but they still, I think, it had the string thing for a while.
Yeah, and then you had to develop them.
Yeah. It was.
No, he's talking about
I know the trip string.
Yeah, the trip string thing, But that might be 30 years ago.
that wasn't even a camera. That's just to see if a deer went by.
At a certain time,
If anything went by.
Right.
Yeah. And something back then, 30 years ago, like most of the places where I hunt right now, I mean, 30 years ago, that same exact farm I just brought up a couple minutes ago, that's 300 acres on the other side of the street from this little tiny piece I used to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hunting that place 35 years ago, hunting every day of the season for probably 35 days to see one deer. Now I haven't been in that place once without seeing deer every time I've gone in there.
Yeah.
And the last time I hunted, it was, just the end of the season last year, I horn rattled, and next thing you know, here comes 7 does right underneath my tree stand. And the last 4 Novembers for me were kind of lousy for the simple reason that I was working too far away from home to hunt before or after work, and it aggravated me that I couldn't hunt before or after work,
Mm-hmm.
But some of the places that I'm going to get to go this year, I'm so excited to go because 300 acres is quite a bit of land, and the whole thing is one gargantuan swamp.
Now, has it just become unposted, or you got permission?
Because the guy who gave me permission on the 11-acre piece across the street bought the whole other side of the street.
Cool. Wow.
So his wife ain't too keen on hunting, but I ripped the roof off his house this year and put a second floor on it.
You and Keith can get in there?
Oh, yeah. We'll be able to get in there.
Yeah, it'll be a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. And there's one place you walk out on it, and at one time it was an old logging road that's all grown in, and it's swamp on both sides with these little high knolls with these 100-year-old oaks on them. Gargantuan trees like this, and I'm like, oh my. I went in there last January or February. I started cutting all the vines off the apple trees that are right next to these places, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a great spot.
Apple trees,
oaks. Oaks, yeah, and some big, huge oaks too, you know what I mean?
Yep.
They're well over 100 years old, I'm guessing.
Been producing nuts for 100 years.
Yeah. And like I said, that piece of property has been posted for 4 years, doesn't even let anybody hunt it.
Yeah.
So that alone
probably
is
some good deer. That's where you ought to put your cameras.
Yeah, but I want to go to the places I've hunted for years where I regularly see bucks in this place, regularly see bucks in that place.
Just to see.
Just to see what else is there.
Yeah.
Or what goes by that I've been missing because, I don't have a camera in yet,
Oh, well, another thing that you mentioned earlier, too, that kind of brought a thought up was, a lot of those places where you see bucks, it might be heavily shotgun pressured, during shotgun season. But last year, and the last couple of years, I've just been noticing that a lot of places that I know are hunted heavily with shotgun.
Yeah.
And I'm going in there hunting with a bow and arrow and shooting that one.
Yeah.
I don't think they get hunted with bows very often.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure in there is like one weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe two.
And
it's like they blow through and those deer know where to go and hide. And
that's so right. I mean, because a lot of people aren't as addicted as like everybody that watches this video.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They really, really like it.
Yep.
I can remember when we first went down to Connecticut. This is 25, maybe 28 years ago, going to a place that was a bow hunting only place for opening day, and we gets there and there's nobody there, and I'm saying, we can't go in here. We must be reading the map. How can there be nobody here?
Yeah.
What if I don't want to get arrested in this state for hunting on a piece of property, and so then we drove around looking for the game warden, and I said, well, there's no one there. how can there be no one near opening days? You guys got that place to yourself. The only place that hunting pressure that gets opening day is shotgun. They'll come for 3 days and that's it.
Yeah.
And I was like, we couldn't believe it. You know what I mean?
And you might walk through and see stands everywhere and try to, get a little discouraged and go, oh man, this place is hunted hard. Telling you where I've been shooting, when I've been shooting good deer and seeing good deer on my cameras, because I put cameras in those places like you said. There's, there might be 8 mature bucks that go through there by the end of the rut, different ones in places like that. Sometimes.
One of my favorite places that I hunt has 23 tree stands on it, and none of them are mine. Mm-hmm. I know there's a few guys go in there, and a couple
22 of them are the same guys probably. Sometimes.
Yeah, probably, but a lot of them.
Yeah, trying to discourage people from going in there.
Yeah, a lot of them are old, you know what I mean? It looks like them you wouldn't even climb, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a little more hunting pressure than I think in some of the places that I had. But, that same piece of property that I just got permission on, 300 acres, the total opposite end of that, I think I said it in the last video, guys were parking in a parking lot, showing up with shotguns. I was telling these guys they're going to post it. Just don't let anybody see you with guns here. Take your blaze orange off 20 yards in the woods and then put the gun in the back. Don't sit in the parking lot letting everybody see, And after doing that for 3 years telling these guys this, I comes there one day and the whole thing is posted. Make a long story short, I went and got permission. Now I'm the only one that gets to go there. And for the first time in my life, I put up posted land signs. I never put up posted land signs. I've been doing this for 40-something years.
Like you said, though, you're 60 now. You kind of deserve to.
You have a little bit.
Right,
yeah. And even
do you dye your hair? How's it still so dark?
Listen, I don't get it. Listen, I think it's the deer meat. I really do. Cause I'm 60. I only got 10 gray hairs, I think.
It's got to be something. Maybe it's the water wherever you're at. Keith, what are some things that you guys do as a team when you're going into this place and you're hunting? Like we talked about earlier, the wind's going that way, and one of you guys will rattle first. What are some other things that stands out to you over the years?
I don't know. We sometimes it depends on which one of us shot the nice last deer. Sometimes we go to a spot and say, "Where do you want to go?" I say, "Well, that's a pretty good tree over there, but who shot the last deer?" So whoever shot the last deer, they get the pick of the trees to go in.
Whoever shot less deer the year before?
No. During the season,
okay,
if he shot 3 deer that year, I didn't get one yet, or whoever shot the last deer, if they shot a nice buck.
Wow, you guys have an awesome system.
That's just like. Well, what happened? We did that once up in Deerfield, New Hampshire. We went up there to do this job, and
tell that whole story.
The lady said, "Hey, you guys can hunt here when you want. They got a pretty good sized piece of woods there." So, the lady says, "Yeah, we let people go in there, but nobody ever shoots any deer." And so Jim says, "Well, we have a pretty good chance to get one." She goes, "Yeah, whatever." So we went out there the first evening after we worked that day, and we said, "Hey, you know what? Let's not rattle tonight. We'll just see if any does or anything comes by." We had doe tags and everything, so we sat in the trees, and all of a sudden I hear click, click, click. I'm like, and we had walkie-talkies. I'm like, "Hey, I thought you weren't going to rattle." I'm not. And there was a couple of bucks in between us rattling. They actually ended up walking by him just before dark. You could hear him walk by. And the next night we went in there. We were walking over the spot. He goes, "Oh, that tree's really good that I was sitting in. Those bucks rocked right by it." And he starts walking over them like, "Hey, who shot the last deer?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you want to shoot there?"
He's up.
So he let me go there. I rattled. A buck came in and I shot it.
No way.
The people couldn't believe it. Like, "You got it there? Wow."
That's awesome.
Yeah, they have guys go there with rifles all the time and they never ever got one. She said.
Yeah. But just that particular farm.
But
that's we kind of help each other out. Hey, we want. I'm happy when he shoots a deer, or vice versa, and to pick a spot and.
Yeah, and there are a lot of guys that aren't like that. They're going to be very protective about their spots, and they're going to, it's like, no, even if they have a hunting buddy, they won't let you sit there. That is awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, we don't hunt a lot of other people either. So, it's easy to do when it's just us,
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken him into some of my best spots. He's taken me to his best spots, and you see, beautiful rack buck coming by, and we go in there and try to shoot him. But
Chris, if you're listening. And I know he is. Freaking last year, and I always let my friend Chris sit in my spots, and I was going up to Vermont for deer season, and he was like, "Hey, you mind if I sit in that spot that had a lot of activity and a huge one that I was after last year, and it's another one of those spots, tons of pressure with shotgun season."
Yeah.
But I was like, "No, go ahead, go sit there. I want you to sit there." He's like, "Sweet, I'll be there. I'm going in the morning." It's like, all right, get there early. It's like, yeah, I'll be there. I wake up at Vermont Deer Camp. I don't know, it's like 5, and I'm out in the woods there. And then I start getting sent pictures because I have a cell cam on a scrape near that stand, right? And I'm getting pictures of a nice 8-pointer in that cell cam.
Yeah.
And then the pictures keep coming. That 8-pointer was in that scrape for about 10 minutes.
Wow.
And it's 17 yards broadside from that stand. I texted Chris. I'm like, Chris,
You
why
see
aren't
that?
you shooting that buck?
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I slept in this morning. I'm going to go this afternoon.
Are you kidding?
It's like, dude, get in there. Come on. It would have been, it was
yeah.
lined up. He just didn't get up.
Well, listen, the same with next scenario. I was hunting with Mike Cater. This is 1989, and it was 89. Yeah, like 3 years. 85. I shot it. It was the last big buck I had shot. I shot with a gun up in Maine, and you could shine the fields in New Hampshire, and shining a field. I mean, I'm gonna go for years. Never
Before the
seen one.
season.
Before the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to see a deer,
Yep.
And then we ended up on this Cox's farm in Plastown, New Hampshire, and there's like 6 deer out in the field. 2 of them are rack bucks. Nothing outrageous. It was a 118-inch 8-pointer and another small 8-pointer with it. But I can remember sitting on the side of the road, and the cops cruise up, and I get binoculars like this, and Mike's holding the light. He says, "What are you guys doing?" "Well, we're picking out a deer before the season." What do you mean? "You can't do that. That's poaching." "Oh, no, we don't got no guns in the car. We're not going to shoot them.
Yeah.
We're just looking at them now,
Yeah.
Well, you can't be doing that."
Yeah.
No, I can do it. He says, "Listen, you got to put that stuff away. I'm going to arrest you guys." I said, "Listen, I'm going to leave only because I don't want you to arrest me. But, I'm going to go to the police station tomorrow and
Read the book.
I want you to read the book, you know what I mean?" And so me and Mike went and scouted that place, and it was 2 weekends before the opening of bow season, And at the time, someone had given me a set of sheds who had found them in Easton, New Hampshire. One of them one side scored 107 and 6/8.
One side?
One side. And the other side scored 67 and 5/8.
Wow.
Now, this was my neighbor across the street, and he found them the last day of the shotgun season, and they still had blood on them. So we went and scouted that place, and I says, "Mike, I really want to go back to that spot where we seen those 2 rack bucks. At least we know they're there. And if they're in that swamp on that far corner, it's opening day. We got a good chance of them coming by." And Mike couldn't wake up that day because, we got home at, 2 o'clock in the morning from hunting Easton, where those sheds were, just to scout it.
Yeah.
And I went in there anyways, and the deer came in. Make a long story short, I shot the deer at 55 yards, and it was quartering away from me, and I stuck it right in the rump. I watched it run off, ran to the edge of the swamp right, thought it was going to, and it stood there, reached back, pulled the arrow out, and laid down. Make a long story short, 8 hours later, 6 guys in there, the deer gets up and runs away. Don't get it. Come back the next day with 11 guys. It had died another 100 yards away. End of the season, I'm saying, "Mike, that other small 8-pointer's in there. You should set up on the end of that tree stand." I says, "I'll go all the way around. I'll push that deer out, see if I can get it to come by you, And he didn't, he left the tree stand. And I made this big loop for him to do it. He didn't feel like standing, and the deer ran out.
Yeah.
It jumped up right in front of me out of that thicket, and he should have stayed there. I says, "Mike, I watched it run right out in front of me,
Yeah.
And that was back in New Hampshire. Back in 1989, I think the whole state of New Hampshire had 17,000 bow hunters killed. I think it was 128 deer that year.
Wow.
That was it,
Yeah.
And before that, years before that, there just weren't as many deer around. You know what I mean? It's like that same farm I told you about across the street is like, I hunted there for 30 days, seen 1 deer.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go there and I haven't been in there without seeing one yet. And I've probably only been in there 3 times.
Have the woods changed at all in there?
Oh, yeah, everything grew up. Yeah. But one time they logged it probably 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty thick in there still, you know what I mean? He hasn't even been in there yet, but I know he's going to be in there. And then I worked on that house all winter, and there's 12 inches of snow on the ground. And I'm there with me, Jimbo, and Cal. We're all deer hunters, and we're all taking a leak behind this guy's garage all winter long. The snow melts, and the guy John that owns the place, he finds this huge, biggest 6-pointer I ever seen, and I'm like, man, all of us didn't see those things. They were
shed there?
They're shed right behind the barn, right behind the barn. But that's where we're all taking a leak because there's no bathroom. We ripped the roof off the house. You know what I mean? Just taking a leak behind. I couldn't believe we didn't see it, and I said, John, you gotta bring those back to me, the homeowner. You know what I mean? So we could see them. He shows me. I'm like, they're like that. You know what I mean? It's a massive deer, beautiful rack buck. And I said, man, that's this year, so I got a chance. I want to see if I can put the camera up and see that deer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
let's see what he is this year. Maybe
yeah.
Isn't he? Maybe
yeah.
He's,
Nah, he is definitely huge. I don't think he's going to be more than 6. Yeah. I mean, if that grows that rack like this, I doubt that thing would ever go back to a 6-pointer.
Let's talk about this one here. Keith, this is a buck you shot?
Yeah, it's a buck I shot in 2015.
Do you know what he scored? Did you get him scored?
Yeah, I did have him scored. I think he ended up being 132. It was like 139 gross score, but it was a New Hampshire deer that...
I was going to say, 132 sounds a little low, but that's net.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, with the deductions. But
it's really thick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a decent buck.
New Hampshire?
Yep.
And how did... let's talk about, what was the hunt like?
I had been seeing these does in this particular spot, and they were just a little further up the hill from me. So the day before that, I saw five does go by, and I said, "Tomorrow I'm going to hunt up there." It was November 3rd when I shot it, and I get up to the top of this hill and climbed up. I found a nice tree to get into, right where the deer were going to be going by there, where I thought they were going to be going by, and I always set my back up to where the deer come from, so that when they walk by me, I can shoot them as they go by me, and they can't see me. So I got in there, and it's probably... I didn't want to call too much because I'd called in that area a lot before, and I figured they could be wise to it. So when I got all set up in there, I just gave one snort. I just blew out my nose, loud snort, and didn't call at all, just that one call. And just before dark, I could hear something coming straight from behind me out of this thicket, coming across this little oak flat. There's a stone wall, and it gets thicker back there, but you had to cross through this little oak spot that was in this little oak stand. And I could hear him coming. As soon as I heard him coming, I reached down, I picked up my bow, and I put my release on. I didn't stand up or move or anything. I just got my bow ready.
He's behind you, right?
Yeah, he's coming straight behind me, and he's walking right at me. I'm trying to peek out to the side, but I didn't know which way he was going to come. He walked straight to the tree I was sitting in and started smelling the tree I was sitting in. And I was super careful with scent when I went in there that day. Yeah. So I looked down like this and oh man, that's a really nice buck. He's sniffing the trees, looking around, he's sniffing. I go, oh man, he's going to follow my tracks. And I made a scrape about 10 yards out. I said, he's going to follow my tracks and stop right in that scrape. So sure enough, he's sniffing around, looking. I'm just kind of I didn't want to look at him too much. I was just straight above him. I was probably up, 25, 30 feet or so. And sure enough, he walked around the tree, and he walks. As soon as he starts walking past me, where I couldn't see his eyes, I stood up slowly. He stopped and put his nose right in the scrape. I drew back and shot him right there, right down through the chest. And the arrow went right through his chest and out his heart. And he ran about, 80 yards or so and piled up over there.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it was a nice buck.
So you said a few things there that are awesome I want to highlight for people. When you know that deer are probably coming from one direction, you're not setting up in the tree facing it. You're setting up facing away from it.
Right.
So, and that's a lot of people aren't going to do that. They're just going to think, well, I'm
looking where they're coming,
look that way, but you're right. Then there's nothing between you. And you can get picked off. And if you can be patient, like you knew a deer was coming. Probably sounded big to you. And then
I didn't even know it was
until he was right
down
under you to barely move like a sloth to check it out.
Right.
And that's what you really have to do to be successful.
Definitely.
Year after year. You have to think about all that kind of stuff.
Right, because when they're approaching you, they can see you better. When they're right under you, they're less likely to see you straight up.
Yep.
So when you get to the tree there, I barely could look down, but when I seen his rack, I'm like, oh yeah. That's
so is that something you always, if you think if you can predict where they're likely going to come from, you're always facing that other way.
Yep.
That's and it's such a teasing thing too, because you're going to hear a lot of deer.
Yep.
And then you have to have that self-control to not turn and look.
It also forces you not to shoot it coming towards you. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
if you're facing
it's so
right at it.
tempted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? comes in you, gives you a little quartering 2-shot, then it looks the other way. So many people are so tempted to shoot at that deer, you know what I mean? But it's already coming towards you. Don't shoot it. Let it walk by. But, it's kind of hard when a lot of people, I mean, they're not confident about what their scent trail coming in and out of the woods is. I listen to the podcast all the time. I don't know anybody, even like John Eberhardt. He seems like he's got an unbelievable scent thing, but he still worries about his entrance trail coming in. You know what I mean?
Deer crossing your tracks.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I mean, just imagine you're a hunter. You've been doing this, and 4 or 5 times you're coming in. Here comes a rack buck. He smells your scent trail coming in, stiffens up, turns around and goes right back to where he came from. That's got to be so discouraging for people if it happens year after year after year. Now you're tempted. Well, it's gonna detect me. I'm going to shoot it coming at me. Now you're shooting it coming at you. Granted, that deer's probably going to die, but are you going to find it, And a lot of the places that I hunt, the swamp is so thick. I mean, even one time I was hunting a deer, how successful are those dog trackers when it comes to finding a deer? I says, and what if this deer goes out into a swamp that's, 800 yards by 800 yards, with 3 feet of water in it? Is that deer going to find that deer? Most of those dogs are too small. It's not going to find it. So many times I came to that scenario, I'm not going to take that shot because even if I wound it, I don't have a perfect shot, I'm not going to find it in that swamp.
One thing about that is, like you say, when they're coming towards you, if they're walking at you, let them walk by. Because if they're coming to you, people are, he's going to get away, I got to shoot him now.
Yeah.
If he's only getting closer. But one thing I thought about recently, where you see a lot of these guys, the guys from the hunting public, they've been shooting out from the ground a lot of times.
Yep.
So a lot of times they can't let them walk by. If they're coming right towards them, they're going to get detected if they're on the ground.
Yep.
Us being up in a tree, if they're coming towards us, let them walk by. It's a way better percentage shot. A quarter away when they can't see you move or anything, it's much better.
A lot of times those guys, too, setting up on the ground, if they're at a place where there's some kind of a fork, or if the deer's coming at you, they can fork off
so
that way
it
or
funnels
that
off
way.
one way or the other. Right.
If you're lucky, you get a good shot. And both of those bucks I killed last year, I had to. They were walking. I had to wait for them to get away from me and get past me. Yeah. That one was coming right at me on the ground, and then he turned one way. And I remember I had to jump on the rocks to shoot that one. Mm-hmm. And then that other one there, he came from behind me on my boot, right on my boot. He was smelling my boot the whole way. He came right the same way I came, and I was surprised by that. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't expecting to see anything coming from that way, and I heard a twig snap and looked down, and he was only 14 yards from me, but right under me, and I knew if I stood up then, he was going to see me, so I just had to wait, and it sucks. You're like,
you got to have patience. You got to have the patience to let him walk by.
Just waited. He quartered away. He got behind a big tree, and that's when I stood up all in one motion and grabbed it, and right when he was turned his head and he was behind a big tree, and he was only there.
Yeah, I remember seeing that video. He was walking away quite a ways. He didn't want to move, which is a good move. Yeah. Because if he would have moved, he's seen you. He's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, especially with bow hunting thing, with your gun, if you can see it with a gun and it's inside of 80 yards. You should have a pretty good chance of getting it. You don't have to wait for an, broadside shot or angled away shot. You shoot it right in the chest. The slug goes through. Goes a little ball, whatever.
Yeah, but you got to be more careful with the bow for sure.
Yeah, you definitely do. Shot placement is the biggest thing to me. The angle, quartering away, broadside or quartering away is the best. And to shoot them coming at you, I don't know. A lot of guys have been doing it, and you can sneak it in there, but it's a little more risky. As far as wounding.
Well, and you guys are up so high, too, that your shot angles are different than most other people's.
Yeah. Well, even like another time I was driving by my house, it looks on this power line, which I almost never see racked bucks from my house. I can count on probably one hand how many times I've seen a racked buck within 3 or 4 miles of my house crossing a road or in a power line. And I sees these 2 deer in the power line. I pulls over on the side of the highway, and I'm like, oh man, that's 2 rack bucks right there. I got to get permission over there, So it's 2 miles from my house. I goes there, knocks on the first deer. Oh, you can't deer hunt here. I don't want anybody back. He goes, baby, you don't own the land. I says, you see all those houses? I'm going to knock on every single door all the way down the street till somebody lets me in. I got to the 6th house, and the guy says, yeah, you can hunt back there. I said, just going back there with a bow and arrow, and I wouldn't.
You just wanted access to get through,
Yeah.
because the land you could hunt.
Right. Yeah. It's huntable land. It's discharge your firearm by written permission only.
Yeah.
But I'm just bow hunting, so I just get permission to cut through, and it's down in there, and I'm like looking around, and there's some good sign in here, and rubs here, rubs there, and I went in there with Jimbo, one of the guys that was my foster kid. I said, Jimbo, I'm going to let you off over here. There's a hole in the fence over there, which is actually the highway. I'm going to drive all the way around. You're going to be on this side of the thicket. I'm going to be on that side of the thicket. And I goes in there, horn rattles, blah, blah, blah. Second horn rattle sequence, I see the rear end of a deer just go into this thicket. And I'm like, oh, man, here we go. Me. Next thing you know, the deer comes up, draws back, lets it go by, whack, I drills it, takes off running. I'm like, yeah, I got him, Then October 30th, something like that. Then I'm back in that place. I'm trying to find that other one. I was going to Big Al's Archery to go pick up arrows. And I says, Jimbo, bring your boots. I says, I want to go back into that place. I'm going to go on that other side of that hill over there. There's a thicket over there. I just want to walk that edge to see what it looks like for deer signs, find some rubs. We didn't go 250, 300 yards up the side of that hill, and there's a rub on a tree like this. I'm like, oh man, that's got to be the other deer, because it wasn't a big deer. One was 140 pounds, the other one was 167 pounds. But that's great for me. That's all I'm really excited about. A 2.5-year-old deer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I says, tomorrow morning I'm coming up here, and I'm gonna go up there. I horn rattles. Sure enough, I goes up there the next day. I horn rattles. Here comes this deer coming up the hill. It starts blowing, coming closer, blowing, coming closer, blowing, coming closer. Now it's about 60 yards away from me. It's just standing there blowing.
He was being aggressive.
Yeah. And it was downwind of me, but it wasn't blowing and going away. It's blowing and coming closer.
He just wanted to fight.
But right now, I'm just looking for this deer because I could see this thicket over here and the swamp down below. And I'm saying, you know what? I'm not going to call to this thing because there's nothing underneath me. It's wide open hardwoods. He's going to know there's nothing here. Yeah. And the deer walks away, gone. Goes back the next day, and I takes a tassel land from a buck I had killed and a doe I had killed. Put one on each boot, walked up the side of this thing like this, came up like this, walked across like this, circled around like this, and climbed this tree. I gets 10 feet up the tree, and I sees a flashlight coming down the hill. I can hear this clink and clank, and I'm like, oh, man. I watches this guy. He sets up right on my own run that I kind of just made going in. I says, I'm getting down, and I'm going to go back that way in case this deer starts following him. He's going to end up shooting it if it's on my scent trail. Yep. I did exactly that, climbed up the tree. I wasn't in that tree 10 minutes, and I looked and I can see that deer walking down the bottom of the hill like this. I'm like, oh, man. If I call it up here right now and he circles this way, well, he's still going to end up in front of that guy. Yeah. And this guy never even knew I was there till I shot it. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to let it walk by. I let it go by 70 yards past, and I goes, me. The thing looks up the hill like this. He starts cutting up the hill. I said, right around there, he should hit my scent trail. Nose right to the ground. I'm like, oh, man, here we go. It comes walking up the hill like this. I lets it get 25 yards away, draws back, head goes behind the tree, whack, lets the arrow go, takes off running, Thing stops at 40 yards, stands there, looks back at me. I takes another
one. Let me guess, you flung another one.
Draws back like this, and just as I released the arrow, it fell straight down like there. And the other guy watching me shoot it, and he's like, what? How did you get that thing to stop for the second shot? I said, listen, my buddy Keith taught me that a long time ago. I says, I don't even know how many times I've done that, But to tell you the truth, I miss a real lot with that second shot. And mostly because it's a guess distance.
What did Keith teach you? When he's running away to give it some...
Yeah, calling after the shot, That was
give
his
it a deer
idea,
call. It doesn't always work, but it does.
Yeah,
it works sometimes.
Well, it worked for you 4 times out of 8 deer in 1 year.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. I mean, granted, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, because again, I've never done that, and I'm sure most hunters aren't doing that, but it's going to work sometimes.
Sometimes you get them to stop and you get another shot at them.
It happens quite a few times.
You guys do have a lot of good little, lot of pointers. People are going to learn a lot, and a couple more things that you touched on. So people know you guys use your scent trail to your advantage because you drag tarsal glands and stuff, right? And what else do you do again?
We keep our
rabbit droppings,
domestic rabbit urine.
And then the other thing we do is when we use the tassel glands, you don't, they go bad after a while. So we keep them in the freezer. We reuse them a couple of times, but then
The following year.
we'll take the, even the same year.
Yeah, that's right,
It's starting
too,
to go bad. We just take the hair from the tassel glands and cut the hair off because the hair doesn't go bad, and put that in with the rabbit droppings, and it's deer scent on there also. And,
So a lot of times I'm not even sure if they're following the urine from our tracks or from the hair from the deer from the tassel glands that we have sitting on top of the urine. But I mean, we started doing that 30 years ago. I think it was 29 when I figured out, trying to do the math on that
we didn't
the other
do
day.
the deer hair for quite a while.
Yeah, exactly, but we
Just
did.
a few years back.
we
We
did,
started doing
right.
that too.
Yeah.
But they used to follow the rabbit, just
Right.
the rabbit scent.
Same
They're
thing.
Curious, just following it.
Yeah, and the biggest thing was like, them not spooking, I remember hunting with Mike Caterer. That's got to be 35 years ago, and we just had a camera to try to videotape a hunt, and Mike says the deer comes in like this, and the deer stood there for an hour and 15 minutes till it got dark, and he never got a shot at it. And he knows it was just a 4-pointer too.
Yep.
One kid was videoing, and he says the deer stopped at our tracks, and he had no shot. It stood there for an hour and 15 minutes.
And knew something was
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago now. It's like
A couple other things. So
Yeah.
it's I just remembered one that I forgot, but is you said, I was in the wide open. I'm not going to call because he's going to come through and it's wide open. He's going to see, well, there's no deer there
Yep.
fighting. I can
Yeah,
see I'm not
yeah.
an idiot, and then he's going to know something's up.
Yeah.
So people, I'm sure there's tons of people out there rattling, and they're sitting in a wide open oak ridge somewhere,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they're
they're
just
definitely
rattling, and they think, oh, rattling doesn't work. Rattling's never worked for me. Well, maybe it's because you're in that type of
And that's
spot.
a huge thing. That is so gargantuan. It's, to the point where I know just in New England, I've rattled well over $100 in. I rattled my first one in 87 in Pennsylvania. And I rattled it in. It was a 4-pointer. Back then, I was still learning to aim low. And the deer came in and shot like this. Deer jumped the string, shot right over its back. It was second or third day we were there. The last week of the last day we were there, we goes back to that place, and me and my buddy, this is even from the ground, and it's right next to a thicket, all briars. Horn rattles again. This thing came running out of the thicket so fast, it ran by me at 15 feet. It ran right by me, stopped, and it's standing there. 20 yards away, I draws back, puts the arrow to it. I just left my buddy Vinny maybe 7 minutes ago between the time I horn rattled, and that was the first one I ever rattled in and killed it. But I shot at that same deer at the beginning of the week, and I was like, that worked twice in 1 week. And that was in 87. And ever since then, I've never put the horns down.
But you got to be in thick stuff.
Yeah, talking about that last season when I shot that 7-point buck.
Yep.
That day I went out. I wasn't even going to go out because it's so crunchy. It had rained out. It snowed out. Got about an inch of snow, and then it rained on top of it, and it froze solid. And it was only, half an inch of icy, crunchy.
Yep.
You'd never be able to walk up on a deer. So, you know what, I'm going out anyways. I had, a couple hours to hunt. So I took my time getting out there, but I was walking like a deer. I'd walk away, stop, stand there, listen, step on my tippy toes like a deer, and got to the tree I was going to get to. I climbed up the tree, and it was a little hill.
And again, you got to have patience to do that. Like,
you guys
have
got to take
a
your
lot
time.
of patience with everything,
yeah.
but that's another example.
Yeah.
You gotta, if you're gonna walk like a deer, people get bored. I try it sometimes, and I'll get bored of it because it's like it's taking forever to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
You got to
Definitely.
commit to it.
Yep, you have to,
Yeah,
especially
because the deer always stop, and they walk away as they stop. They look around. They
Sometimes
pick
for
around.
an hour, and sometimes for 7 minutes, they'll stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this little hill where I know they build. It's a swampy section on the other side of this little hill. So I got to the tree I wanted to get in. I climbed the tree nice and quiet. As soon as I got up to the top of the tree, I took my backpack off. I put it on the seat. I had my arrow knocked in the holder. And right away, I can hear deer coming. They must have thought I was a deer. 2 does came around the hill. They walk out, and it's pretty wide open where I am. It's an oak spot, and it's all hardwoods there. Goes into a thick swamp, though. But right on the edge there, I could hear the deer coming. I picked up my bow, I got ready. And they came to within about, 50, 60 yards, and they just stopped. And when they came around the hill, now they can see the rest of the woods over there. Right where I walked in, it was a pretty wide open spot. So she's standing there, and the wind's blowing at me, so I know she couldn't see me. Standing there for quite a while, and then all of a sudden she starts stomping her foot on the ground. Like, where are you? You know, she thinks there's a deer there.
Yeah.
She's stomping her foot on the ground,
Yeah.
and then she starts blowing. And I'm like, I know she can't see me or hear me. She's standing there looking around. The other deer had stopped 10 yards behind her, and they're both standing there looking around. She blew a few more times, and she turned around and she ran back. And I'm like, wow. I said, well, maybe there's other deer that hear her and come by. And sure enough, about 5-10 minutes later, I can hear another deer coming from a different section, and it's crunching, you know, because I can hear him a mile away because it's just
Crunchy,
Yeah.
So sure enough, a nice buck comes walking out, and he walks right by me 20 yards.
That one there? Is it
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, pull that up real quick.
Yeah.
'Cause
This guy right
this
here.
one, yeah. Nice.
It's a pretty decent one.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah,
Make some room.
but he, so he came walking, you know, he's going to walk behind the tree I'm sitting in. So I was, all right, I can shoot him right there. His head went behind some brush. I get the arrow back, and I start swinging, but my bow arm hit the backpack that I had on my seat.
Yeah.
And it's going to make a stand. There you go. So it hit so I had to let up, go on the other side of the tree. He's out about 30 yards. I drew back again and stopped him and shot him right there. And super crunchy, you know, I was thinking, I'm never going to see anything because it's so loud and everything. But, you know, just having that deer come out and not seeing nothing there,
Yeah.
knew something was up and ran back. This
Yep.
guy said, oh, there's other deer over there, so he was going to walk through too. That's what I'm thinking anyways.
Yep.
But why else would he come walking by? You know?
Yeah, and again, a lot of people wouldn't go out if it's that crunchy. I'm not going out and that stuff,
Yeah.
you know. No, but you got to be in the game.
Yeah.
And Jeff Doyle, I've listened to. He had a recent podcast on Staggercast, another pretty good new podcast. I like what those guys are doing a lot.
Yeah.
And he was on there, and one of his favorite things these days is hunting on crunchy snow.
Yeah,
He's-
the
he
double
really
crunch
likes
buck.
it
He shot one. Him and his dad
Yeah.
shot one the
Yeah.
same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've listened to him talk quite a few years back, and I'm saying, man, he's doing it right. He's grunting as he's walking. He's imitating a deer, pretending he's making a scrape.
Yep.
I mean, the deer listen for a human to come, and a human sounds so
human.
human. It's like this.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's almost a slow crunch in the leaves.
Constant pace. We're always at a constant pace.
Yeah, but if you're walking stiff-legged or just shorter steps and sticking your toes in the ground, especially with the gun, you don't have to let it walk by. You see it, you line up the sights, and you can shoot them. You know?
And you can stop and make scrapes, and you can do all kinds of just do
Yeah.
what a deer would be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you try to sound like them. A lot of times when you're walking in there in the dark, they hear you, but they don't know for sure what you are.
Right.
So a lot of times, you know, they actually blow at us sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They take off. So whenever that happens, I look around and find a tree right away.
Yeah.
Even though most people think, oh, it's all over, they blew at me,
Well, they
they
come
took
back
off.
a lot.
If the
Yeah.
wind ain't blowing at you, climb
They
a
don't
tree
know.
and call. And
Yeah.
oh, that was a deer. And then they come walking back and you get a shot at them.
Like one day, we and him went in the same place. He shot this one here, and we both go in. We're set up 60, 80 yards apart. We just get up in the tree, and it's just getting light, and I can hear a deer walking underneath a tree stand, and it came right from his direction. And there's all Christmas trees underneath us, you know, jack pines, 8, 10, 15 feet tall, something like that. And I can hear this thing walking. I can hear it walking. It's right underneath my tree, and I'm saying, man, I know it's right down there, but it's just too dark, and I can't see it. But he could see it. But it's then remember I talked about before, like 6 or 8 minutes. I mean, and it was a rack buck. Remember that one? You know when it was like
Yeah.
and I says, Keith, what was it? He says it was a rack buck. I'm like, oh man.
How far apart were you guys hunting that?
60 yards,
60
maybe
yards?
70. What do you think? Was it maybe a little further than that?
Somewhere around
It's
there.
fun
Yeah.
to do that. I did that last year with my
Yeah.
friend Scotland the
Yeah.
first time, but being within close
Yeah.
enough, and
Yeah.
It's funny, too, because sometimes we're set up fairly close, you know, 60, 80 yards apart.
Yep.
And you're thinking, oh, man, there's nothing coming by today. And then we usually say, hey, I'll call you at 8 o'clock. We turn our
Yeah.
phones on and
Yeah.
call at 8 o'clock. Hey, what'd you see? And it's like, I just saw 7 deer. It's like, he's right there. I didn't see nothing. You know,
Yeah.
he sees
Yeah.
them or the other way around.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
you know,
Oh, because you're in that again. You're in thick spots.
Well, then a lot of times too, we have what do we call it? The steak bird? I don't even know what it is. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's our signal.
That's-
If we see a deer, we whistle like that.
that
And
means
it's like,
get
oh,
ready.
yeah.
I'm looking at deer.
Yeah.
So then that's usually because if we're only 80, 90, 100
And
yards
the deer
apart.
don't look up at you when you do that ever.
No.
No.
It's a bird. You must hear it. It's called the steak bird. You hear it
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah, it's like a chicken.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
it. That's exactly it.
I always do that.
We practice it. We practice it on deer that we weren't going to shoot to see. You know what I mean? To make sure we wasn't going to spook them. That was a long time ago too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a mourning dove that makes that. It might be a different sound. Maybe.
No, that is.
No, I think it's a chickadee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, blowing is a thing that you guys do a lot too. Now, everybody's heard the startle blow. Is that different than the social blow, or
I think if you just do it once, sometimes deer do that to contact.
One is social.
You know?
3 is distress.
Yeah, if they keep blowing,
and when
they're
they do
upset.
a social one, they're not stopping, right?
Everybody run.
Yeah.
You blow
when
one
they do
time,
that social one, they're not accompanying that with a stomp either, right?
No,
'Cause
they
it's just
may.
social.
They may actually. A lot of times we can't see them doing it. You know.
Yeah.
It's even like the snort wheeze. I'm sure I may have heard the snort wheeze before, but not the wheeze part.
Yeah.
Because the wheeze is so much milder than the snort. You know what I mean? And the only deer I've ever watched doing it was and seen it actually do it, and know 100% I heard it, was that lone wolf buck I hunted for years, and I may even have that on video. I haven't seen that section yet, though. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but I mean, that snort wheeze that's a really rare call, and
it feels like it is too. I've never heard a buck doing it, but I've used it, and it's been
it works.
It's worked.
Really well. Yeah. Especially, I guess, if you know there's a dominant buck in the area, and the other one wants to come and confront it. You know what I mean? But deer calls that's let's talk about all day sits.
Yeah.
I haven't done all day sits in well over 10 or 12 years. Almost every piece that we're going to, I know where I expect the deer to be and or where they're coming from, and I'm trying to call them out. And I don't care if they circle downwind of me, because they all circle downwind of me almost every single time, because you're calling, and you leave them pretend look at this table. This table is a swamp, and the wind's blowing down this side like this.
Yeah.
Well, perfect scenario is you can walk right up the side of this swamp like this into the wind.
Yeah.
You climb a tree right here, and say the deer is right there,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that deer can easily walk 200 yards that way, 200 yards, then come out on that side and get completely downwind of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember one in New York I did that one time. We got permission on this piece of farm. Keith was there with me. That was 12 or 1,700 acres, a couple of horse farms, and the people would let anybody hunt there as long as you asked permission. And first time I went in there, I was with Mike at the time. That was years before I hunted with him. And he, well, where are you going to go? I said, well, I'm going to head in that direction in the pitch dark till I hit something thick. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to sit in the truck. We just drove 4 hours to get here. And well, why don't you just wait till late? No, I'm going. Off I went, hit something thick, climbed up in a tree, and little did I know I had actually just walked past 2 guys, and it was just getting light when I found a place on the edge of this swamp. Yeah, I'm going to set it, circled around my tree right here, hung the tousled land over there, and horn rattles. I see a deer moving in the swamp. I watch as it disappears. Next thing you know, I see it cut out like this. I'm like, oh yeah. Now it comes walking right up the side of the swamp, right to, oh yeah, he's coming right to me. It's just a 4-pointer. I didn't actually get the deer. I did wound it, but I let it walk right underneath my tree, and it's underneath my tree for, I don't even know, probably 10 or 15 minutes. I'm just waiting for the shot that I thought I was going to broadside shot, angled away quarter, drew back. I hit it with the arrow, it takes off running. And it's, I see this stands there looking back. All of a sudden I hear somebody else shoot at it too. I was like, well, this must be somebody else over there, And I see, 10 minutes later, the deer runs up the hill, and I goes back over there, and I'm looking at the blood, and I can see this guy. I didn't go down, and next thing I hear somebody else whistle, and I'm like, well, there's somebody else in here too, And I guess there was another guy that I walked by, and I can see him waving at the tree, but he's not waving at me. He's waving at the other guy, and after a couple minutes of this guy in this tree says, "That's not your deer, buddy. You didn't shoot it." I'm like, who's that? So now I gets down out of the tree. I walks over there, and it was obvious it was my blood trail, because the blood trail went right by the tree. But so then this guy helped me track the deer. We tracked it up on the hill, and we couldn't find it. Eventually we lost blood, and I went back to the truck, told Mike I didn't get it, and I didn't find that deer. But Mike went back there that winter with another guy I met down there, Jimmy Costello, and he says he went up on that hill and they found that 4-pointer about 50 yards, he says, from where we where we stopped. But it could have been someone else's 4-pointer, but
Probably.
most likely not. You know what I mean? So
It's crazy how they're sometimes they're just so close.
yeah,
And you don't know.
yeah,
That one was really close. I stopped only 30 or 40 yards from him.
yeah.
And if I would have never went back the next morning,
You never would have found it.
never would have found him.
Yeah.
But he was like right there. And he was also like the last time I remembered seeing him, he was all groggy getting out of the bed when I jumped him out of bed, and he was moving like that.
Yeah.
And the direction he went, for some reason, I didn't just keep going that in a straight line the way he went the last time I saw him, but that's what I should have done because that's where he was dead.
Yeah.
I went over there and I was like just looking around once I got there, and I was like, oh well, the terrain naturally goes that way. I know there's like a community scrape down there, and there's some trails and that. So I just like went that way, even though the last time I saw him he was going straight that way, and now we'll file that away. Next time something like that happens.
Yeah.
Wherever they're going.
Sometimes you guess, you want to guess where they're going, and
And it's
it can be off by just a little bit.
Just go where you
Or you
actually
could
saw
be-
them.
like it was one
Continue
time.
that line.
Me and him, we went out to Illinois one time, and I was out there, and I had a beautiful rack buck coming in. It was gargantuan. It was the second biggest buck I ever shot at, and there's another one I absolutely didn't get. You know, it's straight down out of the tree like this. I lets it walk by right there. I sticks the thing. It takes off running, and it ran that way. I looked for 2 days for that deer because I just couldn't see it not dying. I seen the arrow sticking out of it. There's about this much out of it. But I looked everywhere over there. I kept looking, and I never found it. Well, we come back there the next year. It was 2 days before we left the last week of the season. We left on Saturday. Monday was opening day of shotgun. And Monday day opening day of shotgun, we come back the following year. And the guy says, which one of you guys shot a Big 10-pointer last year, like the last couple days?
Oh.
I shot one. And he says, we found that deer on the edge of the field. The deer had ran. It came from this direction. It came by like this. I shot it here. It ran this way, and I looked in this direction forever. Well, the deer ran back that way. And it ended up probably being 200 yards from where I shot it. But you know, it ran that way. Why would I look 200 yards that way? And that's what I never got that deer. I said, well, what did you do with the rack? He says, I sold it to someone from Wisconsin for $300. But if he could have told me that for that guy from Wisconsin, I would have gladly paid him the $400 or $100 from Jamaica just to have it. But
Oh yeah.
I can remember that deer like it was night and day. It was a monster. Probably one of the biggest bucks I ever shot at. Probably close to 160 inches, but. Illinois out west is a total different story. The gargantuan bucks out there, it's just like everywhere, you know?
There's more of them.
Yeah.
But you guys together, you gotta trust each other, and like you guys do, because if it's like, oh, if you guys plan a scenario and you're like, you know.
You go here.
That way, you go that way.
there.
You're gonna, you know that the other person's gonna be in that spot, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. We know where each other are all the time.
Because that would get annoying if I tell you to be in a spot again and you're not there, and then the buck comes by.
Well, we even we have one place that we used to hunt in West Newbury. We're going to lose permission on that farm because they just sold it. We're not going to get to hunt it this year. And 10 years ago, we got permission at that farm, but we could only hunt it 1 day a week for Saturday mornings between 5 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, and you'd go in there and I remember seeing one. You seen that buck before I seen it.
The one in the swamp, yeah.
Yeah. And he killed one of the two of them. There was two of them, right? You shot one of the big 8-pointers, and there was another big one in there. Then I think the next weekend I seen it. But we know they're in there. But now you can't go back there for an evening stand because they won't let you.
Yeah.
You know, but you know they're in there, and that kills you too. You know what I mean? It's like just to see one and know it where it is. It's gargantuan. Just we that same exact swamp. Must have been the year before you got hurt, or was it the year after you got hurt? It was in October and we had snow. So I can remember going in there.
2 years ago.
Yeah, probably. There was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And
October 31st. A bunch of nice snow.
The deer walked by me at 70 yards. I watched it walk into this thicket, disappeared, and then I watched it lay down. I'm like, oh man, that's his bed. he's bedding right there. It's a big swamp, thick, anything is a swamp. You can't see 10 feet into anything, So I remember sneaking down out of that tree. I told him about it, and I think I seen like 8 deer that morning. It was a really good morning. And I think you had seen 1 maybe. But anyways, snow on the ground, they kind of stick out like sore thumbs. And then I remember going there either the next year, it had to be the next year, because I couldn't shoot at anything more than 20 yards away because I had a torn rotator cuff and I couldn't lift my bow. So unless I'm shooting down like this, I couldn't. I could try to go like that, but it just, and it also slowed me from climbing the tree stands. It usually takes me less than 3.5 minutes to put the tree stand up and get up that high. I've timed myself to see, and I can get up there quiet. I know I can, and I'm about 25 feet up and 25 yards from where I watched that deer bed a couple weekends earlier, you know what I mean? And I'm up, and I'm getting up the tree, and I hear, here comes a buck walking. I'm like, oh man, I'm never gonna. He's close enough for me to shoot if I can hear him. So I stops. We carry our bows with us as we go up. I have a backpack on with all my clothes, and I'm standing there, and it's gonna go by at like 30 yards, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a wide open shot at this thing. And I can't I can't aim that far, and now I'm only up 25 feet. The wind's blowing like I didn't know which direction the deer would come from. It kind of thought it was going to come from the other direction, to tell you the truth, because there's apple orchards in that direction, And make a long story short, the deer smelled me and turned and went up the hill and didn't blow or anything, but it had no reason to make such a direct turn once it got downwind of me. And I was, just climbing up in the tree, and I was like, man, a year from before that, I would have had that deer.
Yeah.
But then, even then, I was so desperate to get one with a bow and arrow, just to shoot something like this. I shot one with a crossbow the early part of the season, and then that one came by. But if you gotta keep going, even if you're hurt, or sick. You gotta go.
You really got the bug if you're out there doing it.
Yeah, that was a pretty good spot. We shot a lot of bucks.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of bucks in there too. I shot one there. It's a 6-pointer once. It was 198 pounds in that farm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good size one.
Yeah, that is a big one.
And we couldn't, like I said, we only got to hunt there 1 day a week.
Yeah.
Right.
When did I videotape you dragging the deer out with the cane? With the cane.
That was 2020.
Is that what it was?
Because 2019 I didn't shoot a deer.
Yeah.
So you have some new footage.
Had an injury.
Even.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of new footage. I haven't even watched it. I didn't even.
You gotta do something. Hire some young intern to go.
That's what he needs to do.
When I go to, I'm gonna hit some of these guys up to watch their videos. Even I want to get. The other day I went to Circuit City. I don't even know if it's Circuit City. One of these places on 28 in Salem, New Hampshire. I want to buy us new cameras because we have money from Jim's Tricks. We just leave it there.
Yeah.
And, we bought our cameras with that. What did we spend? $400 on the cameras. And then I want to get us. I goes into this place.
I gotta show you this new camera before you guys leave.
Oh, I'd like to.
Sure.
It's a little handheld thing, and it's got 360. And
oh wow.
It even there's a thing where it'll follow your eyes or follow your face and stuff.
Me?
Oh, it's great, and it's not even that expensive. I think it's like $250, and it shoots.
Is it a GoPro?
And it's sort of like a GoPro, but it's not. It's on this little stick thing, and one of the guys coming to Huntstock, Trevor Berwick, he runs Outdoor Drive podcast. Told me it's a must-have thing. You can just put it in your pocket here, and it sticks out here.
Really?
And it's 4K and really good, and the battery life lasts forever on it, and something like that.
You could even put that on your bow, then it's small.
Yeah, you can put it on your bow, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I'm kind of looking for. I went to, this was a couple weekends ago. I says I got to get us new cameras because the camera I have right now, you open the door and it goes bling, bling, bling. So anything inside of 50 yards, you can't turn the camera on.
Yeah.
That happens. They're inside of 50 yards most year before I see them because it's so thick to begin with,
Yeah.
It goes into Circuit City or whatever place is on 28 there. You think somebody in there, they got 6 different cameras. They can't get one of them to turn on and show me how it works. So then I goes in and I says, well, take me over to the GoPro ones. Oh, it goes over there. Well, you can't open that case. Well, I just opened that case right there. Well, you're not supposed to do that. I says, well, I want you guys to show me something. I want to see it work. before I buy it. It's a $500 camera. I don't want it to buy it and have it go bling, 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 or blink, 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 and scare the, Well, we can't do that. He says, all the people in this store, nobody knows how to work any of these cameras.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like, it aggravates you,
You wonder why retail is like dead,
Yeah.
dying.
Yep. Yeah, but I know what, I'm like you just said, that camera right there, that's got me interest right now, because then I was looking at the GoPros and they had
I'll grab it before you guys go.
4 different models, and the biggest one was $500, and I was like, I'll buy both because it's not like it's coming out of our pay or anything. This is stuff me and him made money from gym tricks.
And you saved it just for this reason to buy.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Do you guys have iPhones?
I do.
Like you can even there's a company that was gonna come to Huntstock that can't make it now called Painted Arrow Outdoors.
Okay.
And they make an attachment. It goes onto your stabilizer, and it's a magnetic, and your phone. It'll hug your phone to it. Really nice. And both those videos on my YouTube were just from my phone last year, and a little and they were MacGyvered with like something I bought and wrapped around my stabilizer.
Oh yeah, I believe.
But this guy thought it up right, and it goes right on your stabilizer.
And it doesn't
nice
jump
and
off when you shoot?
I don't think so. I think I think he's
Just
built some
magnet,
kind of a stabilizer thing into it. But even last year, you saw the video. The video was pretty good.
It was actually real good.
It didn't jump too much, and that wasn't even like anything special. It was just I figured it out and MacGyvered it.
Yeah. No, that's how my camera is on my bow, just like that too. Piece of aluminum cut in half, glued on this side, taped over the side, a screw to the top of that, and you screw it on. That's it, Yeah. But the cameras I have now, those things got to be 6 or 8 years old. I don't even know. I dropped one of them in the water.
And that thing I think was only $800.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty good.
But you see that red light looking at us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a Sony that was pretty
put a piece
decent.
of tape over that.
Yeah.
And that thing makes a noise when you open it, but there is a way where you hold the shutter open and then manually press off instead of closing that. You manually press off and keep the shutter open. Then all you have to do is turn it on, and the shutter
there's
won't.
zero
Because the
noise.
shutter noise is what
some
I
of
was
them
worried
won't.
about.
Some of them won't turn on unless you open up the viewfinder.
Yeah.
Which is it's nice to be able to keep that shut sometimes, especially in low light, because when that's open,
now
it's shining light.
Now it illuminates your face. I used to have a little sock. I used to slide over that thing for when I opened up the camera, and if the deer's coming at me for 15 minutes or whatever, and it's just getting dark, I don't want it glowing, illuminating my face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
you guys have seen that deer will pick up on that.
Oh
in the dark,
yeah. They pick up on so much.
Well, that's the thing with GoPros too. GoPros have that little red light.
Yeah, you can put a piece of tape over it or something.
Yeah.
Lock it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I'm gonna buy them. I was hoping to see if, talk to a bunch of the guys from the Hunt Fest thing and other people's, what they use for cameras. You know what I mean? Because all the time we've been using, a $200 camera from Circuit City or wherever. You know what I mean? But
yeah, that'll be a good thing to do. There's gonna be a bunch of groups there who film. So
yeah. Plus, even like going there is like all the time. Me and him, the last time we've been going to trade shows. Well, we're sitting behind the booth. That's why we don't really want to do a booth. Yeah. I want to go and talk to everybody. Yeah. I never get to talk.
Well, I got quite a bit of that. Yeah.
I know.
Where it's like, we just kind of want to experience this event.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah. I don't want to sit there and have people come talk to me. I want to go talk to the people that I want to talk to. Everybody's got so much. Especially there's so many more guys out there with cameras now and doing what they do. You know what I mean? And I kind of like that. I
feel a little like resurgence in the hunting community in the Northeast happening right now. There's a bunch of new podcasts popping up. There's new people who are excited about self-filming, and I think all that stuff is great.
Yeah, me too. I love that's all I try to find. I get aggravated sometimes when I can't get the one to come on that I want, and I'm still lousy at computers and phones. Like the other day, I'm driving home and I put the wrong direction in to come home, and I can't figure out how to shut the phone off, so I can get the directions that I want to go. All the way home, I said, Cindy, can you turn this off for me? Because I've been trying it for 20 minutes, so I still can't get it shut off. But there's so many options on the things. You got to play with them more than I do, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you're ahead of the game in some ways. Like so I told you guys, Lanny Benoit's now coming to hunt stock.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Lanny's awesome.
We've met him before.
Yeah.
Talked to him a bit.
Yeah,
He's a good
quite
guy.
a few times.
He's quite a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, the podcast you put out with him was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves doing that. He wants to do another one. He wants to do one all on snowmobiling and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I found out about him is he does not read or write.
Really?
Yeah.
No
He dropped
kidding.
out of school real young, I think, and he can't read or write. So you can't text him. You can't do anything. He's got the book. One of the Benoit books here.
Yeah.
When we did the podcast, he was asking me to go through and find something because he can't read it.
Yeah. No kidding.
And he rose to the top
How old is he now?
You think he's 78, 77 or 78.
Really?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Was he a sheetrocker? What did he do?
Yeah, lots of stuff, but he's sheetrocking and he's still sheetrocking. He took a big job for 160 houses or something. And he's at the end of it now. Like he's got 14 more houses or something left. But
He's still working away.
yeah,
Man.
still does snowmobiling engines and things like that.
Yeah.
Works on snowmobiling engines and racing.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
guys.
Jim bought his
book
dad's
time
book a long time ago.
Yeah.
Can't find them anymore.
Yeah.
Those are rare. You want to go through some of the stuff in the box before we get too
Sure, I can show you those
too late
sheds.
here?
Sheds that I
We'll
found.
make some room on the table.
Yeah. These set of sheds from New Hampshire. Pretty decent buck.
Yeah,
I
those are
actually-
awesome. Look at that.
I actually shot a doe, and I was I called my son up, and he come to help me drag it out, and I went out to meet him, and we were walking along in the dock, and he found one. I'm like, oh my God, look at the size of this thing. It was right in this little hemlock spot
You
in this
found
like
one
little
of these?
valley. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
started looking around, and the other one's laying right there, and I was like, oh my God, look at this thing, and we
And had they
I
been
said-
laying there for a year? Because they were
they
pretty
were all chewed up.
Yeah.
It was from the year before. So I said, hey, Jim, we got to go look for this buck. So we went in there. We started scouting. It was a pretty good sized piece of woods. We found some swamps and some tracks. Nothing real positive. But a couple weeks after we found that in the muzzleloader season, somebody actually shot that buck. And it was the biggest deer in New Hampshire with a muzzleloader at the time.
Mm.
2 weeks later, somebody else shot a bigger one.
Right.
But the guy brought the deer to Jim to score it. He said, "Hey Keith, you got to see this." He said, "This is the deer." He said, "It looks just like those sheds you found." So I brought him over, and sure enough, they were shaped very similar. Just a little
we
bigger.
knew it was the same deer.
But yeah,
What did it score?
I forget. I know it was 160 something though. I forget it. What was his name? You remember his name?
Jeez, that is.
Joe DeCaro? No.
no,
I knew his name. I knew his name. I can't remember it right now. But
yeah, he was actually on the cover of the Northeast
Big Buck
Big Buck Club with
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Boy, I'd like
Joe
to-
Dunlop.
tremendous. Yeah,
That
this,
was his name, Joe Dunlop.
yeah. This point right here was actually still sticking up. I actually have these. These are in the New Hampshire record books for sheds. I brought them to show it. I forget what they scored actually, but they're in the record book for New Hampshire.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just a giant.
Yeah.
I still have yet to find a deer like that yet. It's
Well, you got some pretty close ones over there.
it's on my list.
Yeah.
I think the closest one like that I actually have in this box because it was pretty chewed up, but it's this one was starting to get kind of thick.
Oh yeah, he's got some good mass on it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not even that big. But yeah, he was a nice heavy deer.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Found a lot of sheds this last year.
Yeah,
Something like 20 or 22 or something.
that's pretty good, man. I never found that many.
That was fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
watched
there's
you
some good
and
spots
Isaiah
there.
Young and
Yeah.
you guys had a blast that few one day or a couple days.
That was just one day. Yeah.
Man.
Isaac Young came down with
Yeah.
Nate.
Yeah.
And we went to one patch of wood. Pretty much we did find all those in one patch.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yep. An unhuntable patch. You can't
Yeah.
hunt there, so.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah,
makes
good
it
spot
fun.
to look for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So what do you got
Yeah.
for a knife there? Is that your what's
Actually,
the story
this was-
behind that?
This is a knife my father gave me when I just started hunting at 14, and it's got 100 notches on it. And every time I shot a deer, I'd carve a notch in it,
Yeah.
And once I got to 100, I retired.
Was it new when he gave it to you?
Yeah, it was new. I was 14 when
That's cool.
and 100 notches in it. even like this side of the blade is like one on each side. It's not both sides, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
So one side, that's 2 notches, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and then I did another with another knife, and I lost the knife, got in the deer.
Really?
Yeah, I shot a doe, and
Were there 200 notches on that?
200 notches on that one too. And I knew right where I got it in a swamp, and there's water.
100 on that.
My
one,
girlfriend bought me a metal detector, but there's water there all the time, you know, and I just couldn't find it. It's got to be within. I shot it, 60 yards off a trail. So.
Oh, you know who you got to contact? Pat Burns.
Oh yeah.
He's a metal detector, and he's really good at it.
I'll talk to him at the show about it, and
You know, he asked this lady for permission to metal detect her. I don't know if you heard that in one of the podcasts.
I listened to a thing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, to go into her cornfield, and she's like, yeah, she's like in her 90s.
Yeah.
Sure, go out and if you find my wedding ring, 'cause she lost it 80 years ago.
Wow.
He didn't find it, did
He found it within like 20 minutes.
No kidding.
Holy
Wow.
It was a foot under the ground. There was
Wow.
a foot of dirt above it.
Yeah, it turned over a few
And
years.
and she just told him.
That's awesome.
He asked her, like he was a forensic. He was
Yeah.
like, all right, well, whereabouts was it? Can you remember?
Yeah.
Give me a general. And she kind of pinpointed it. And he went over there, and it was literally right there.
That's
And,
awesome.
and then he filmed it.
She must
He
have been so
doesn't-
happy.
Oh, she was so happy.
Wow, that's wicked cool.
He filmed
Good
it,
girl.
and then her husband died I think 6 months or a year later or something. But they're both in that, and he doesn't put that video out, but it's pretty incredible to watch it. He
Yeah,
comes in and they're just like, "Oh, can you believe that?
that's great.
I haven't seen that in 80 years."
Wow.
Holy.
So that's why I say, if you really want to find it,
Wow, I'll keep that in
that's the
mind.
guy to.
Yeah, definitely. I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
You'll have to bring him into your spot, though.
Yeah. Listen, I'm the only one that can hunt there. It's posted now. That's the only place I ever put a posted me and sign up. Oh.
Pat's got 8 million spots. He
Oh,
really-
yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it anyways. I shared that place with 6 guys for 25 years.
Yeah.
I don't even know any of them, but every shotgun season they'd be in there. I remember going in there one time looking to see if, it just snowed, and I'm looking to see if the track was in there, and as soon as I get in there 200 yards, it's 1,700 yards, paces to the spot, and I can see somebody following it where it was going. I was going back to where it came from, and I walked all the way in there, and I didn't see the deer or anything, but there's a lot of guys in there. There's 6 of them. And it's a nightmare of a swamp, though. Most of them stayed on the high ground, sitting on the edges, and that was one place that I still love hunting it now, and now it's going to just get better because there's really no one in there with shotguns now, so. Bring some more up.
Yeah. What else you got?
Bring the ones you did.
Well,
the whole,
what else you got?
I actually just brought
the whole
all
season.
the skulls that I shot from last season.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's show everybody what a real meat hunter is like.
That's right.
All right. Well, there's one down there, the 7-pointer.
Oh yeah.
That was the last one I shot. I shot these 2 deer out of the same tree in Mass.
These two,
Yeah, that was from last year.
they look like they
Like
have the same
brothers, don't they?
genetics.
I know they're very similar.
You said that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, the same curve there.
Yeah.
Wow.
This guy was a New Hampshire buck I shot. Got that right. And I got a few does in here.
Nice.
Got a button buck.
Oh, look at that.
These are all shot with a bow and arrow. That's my season. Last year.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do with all that meat? Do you eat it all?
Yeah, I give quite a bit of it away too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I share a lot of it. I like to give it away
Yeah.
to friends and family, but
Keep the button buck and the the dove.
yeah, that's a pretty
you gotta-
special one.
You gotta keep that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's great.
Yeah, he had a
had a
great
good-
season
good
for
year.
sure. He called me up one time and Jim, I just shot 2 deer. I says, Keith, I'm an hour and 15 minutes north. It's gonna be a while before I get there. And was that one? This one here? Which one? The big one? Or was it the other
it
one?
was the 6-pointer, 6-pointer and the button buck. I shot.
Yeah.
Actually, I shot them the same day,
Yeah.
and I was in that same tree. I shot 4 deer out of that same tree this year. It was a good spot.
Nice.
And, I just climbed into the tree and A button buck came walking by, and I didn't know it was a button buck. It was a young deer. Walked underneath my tree, put his nose in my scrape. I drew back, I shot it. It circled and ran off. When it ran off, there was another deer nearby, and it ran right to me. And it stood there and watched the button buck run off into the swamp. And I'm looking down, like, oh, that's a pretty decent 6-point. I knocked another arrow, and he was about 25 yards away, and he started walking away. I drew back, and shot that one too. Yeah, so after I called Jim, I called my wife and said, hey, Kath, I'm going to be a while. I got a couple of deer to drag out here, and she actually, when I called her work, she works with her brother, and he picked up the phone. He goes, what are you doing? I'm dragging a couple of deer. He goes, well, where are you? I'll come help you. I'm like, really? Great. Come on down. So by the time I got the button buck, got it out and dragged out, he showed up, and we walked back in. And he's not a hunter, and he's walking in the woods in the dark, and, we had to cut through this little spot where we had to go by a couple of houses.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, it's so different to him.
Scared.
It was. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed the experience of walking in there, because like nobody even knows we're out here. We're in the woods in the dark, and it's like, I bring my flashlight. Like, don't turn it on. We don't need the flashlight. You guys are going to just walk in there. And we walked right to where the deer was and put it in the jet sled, and he helped me drag it out.
Remember, he's still getting over an injury from broke his femur. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I broke my leg.
So he's still limping.
2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was a big help having him help me out,
definitely.
drag it out. But
Really.
Somebody I was talking to recently, from the Pertinier Outdoors podcast, he's got this mission to, like, I don't think you can do it in Massachusetts, quarter deer. Some places you gotta read it. I haven't looked into it too much, but he wants people to stop, because I guess so many people have heart attacks dragging deer out of the woods.
Oh, I bet.
Really?
They die right there.
Wow.
And like if you're injured and you're in your 60s and you're you're a prime candidate for something like that to happen. So you gotta think about that stuff sometimes.
Definitely. I can see that.
It's funny.
For sure.
You don't think I don't look at myself as being old.
Yeah.
And I know I'm up there, I guess, in age, but
I'm not calling you old, but
Listen, I keep thinking that to myself. I'm saying, I'm 60. I really don't feel like I'm 60, but I'm 60. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can remember when I was 25, and I'm saying, what am I going to be doing when I'm 60 or 70? Can I still do it when I'm 60 or 70? But look at the Benoit right there. What do you say? He's 75, 78?
78, I
And
think.
he's still doing it. So, I mean...
He doesn't hunt as much anymore. He's definitely slowed down. And
Oh, definitely.
He'll tell people at Huntstock, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's like, those days are long gone where he's in the woods he's not tracking bucks.
Yeah, he used to go, man. He used to get
Yeah.
on a buck and just go. Like,
he would put on miles and miles.
Yeah, especially if he's actually still working construction.
Yeah.
I mean...
He'll go in, but he's not putting on 10 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys, we had 15 more minutes here, and before that thing will probably shut off on us again.
Here's one that me and Keith both shot one time, and neither one of us got.
Yeah, both of you have them now.
This is the deer I called.
Here's one me and Keith both shot, but neither one of us have. But now we both do.
Unfortunately.
Look at that.
Right.
Yeah, that was it.
I think this is the first deer I ever got in my own video cameras. Me videotaping the deer, either trying to shoot it or calling it in and it and not actually killing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I passed on it one time, just after he shot at it.
Yeah, he brought me in there, and we went into the spot, and he said, go sit in that tree over there. They usually come out of the swamp right there. I'm going to go further over this way. And he said, you rattle first. So I got in the tree, started getting light out. And it was a cold morning.
Yeah.
There was ice on the swamp, and I rattled, and almost right away I could hear a deer coming in. And he walked across this swamp that had a little bit of ice on it, and it was just like, oh man, something's coming, and it sounds big, So came out of the swamp. It's just starting to get light out, and he circles up and he starts going over towards Jim. So I called to it, and it turns and it circles back, and it's coming around. Went around the tree, and he's walking right past me right here. I'm waiting for him to go by a little further to shoot at him, and I thought I had him for sure. He starts walking. He's quartering away, because I rattled the second time. He was going towards Jim. I let him get a little ways away. I rattled, and he came back. So he was really, curious and super sensitive. He's looking around, being super cautious, and he's 15 yards away, really close. His head goes behind a tree. I draws the bow back, and he heard the bow. When I came to full draw, I just made a little, and he heard it, and he spun and he ran, and he stopped about 40 yards out. I take my rangefinder out, and I rangefind him. He's in the wide open. I drew back and put my sights on 40 yards. I drew back and put my sights right on him. I shot, and I cut hair off the top of his back. I didn't wound him. It just gave him a haircut, a distinctive haircut. And he started going right towards Jim. And I go, that deer's all done. He's going to walk right by Jim. I thought for sure he's going to shoot him. So I get the phone out. After a while, he calls me. I'm like, how big is he? Did you shoot him?
I says, no, I didn't shoot it. I says, if I shoot that deer, I can't shoot the lone wolf buck. Because
You only had one tag.
I only had one tag left. I says, and 2 years before that, I had went into the same place, and I'm walking stiff-legged going in, and the trees right where I started to go in this place, they're not big enough to really climb. They're only like this big, and I had seen a rub down this corner of the swamp over there, the same tree that he actually shot the deer out of. I shot this same deer a year later out of the same tree on video, and so I had the deer on video 1 year, then I had a video the next year, then I had it on video the next year, and the first time it came in, I jumped it on the way in, it took off running, I blew once, knew I couldn't climb that tree, but I says, that rub is down in there. I had backtracked a deer the year before that in the snow to a bed right across that swamp where he heard it come from.
Yep.
And I knew it. I'm pretty sure it's going to bed there. I probably hunted the place 20 times and seen it 4 times, And the deer comes walking by me. The first time I went in, crosses my scent trail, and I say, oh man, that's it. He's going to go right there, turn right down, and come down to me. If he's on his way to the bed, it's bringing him. He's right on my scent trail. Well, he goes back to the point where I had made a T, came in like this, went back, jumped him here, came back this way, and went down this way because that's where I thought his bed was. And he starts following me back, except he goes right out into the woods, into the people's yard that I just cut through to get permission there. And all of a sudden, they let their dog out. The dog goes out, goes running in, the deer goes crashing into the woods, and that was it. It was gone. I'm like, well, it was an 8-pointer then, I think. It was 70 yards away when I videotaped it then. But I had it in the video camera, and I kind of thought I probably would have shot it that day, because at that time I hadn't shot an 8-pointer that year, and I probably would have shot it. Then the next year, he goes in there, he sets up in that tree, he shoots at it, I videotapes it, walk right by the bottom of my tree like this, and you can see his arrow shaving across the top of it.
Yeah, you saw the haircut, big stripe right across his back.
And it's in the video, and it had on this side of its face right here, it had, because I don't have real pictures, you know what I mean? So when you're looking at it with your eyes, it's had, a lot of racks look the same, so I'm pretty sure it's the same deer, but it's got a little white line on this side. Now, I just went through all my film and say, I'm saying that's the same deer, but I don't actually know, because I don't have trail cam pictures of it. But when you can see in the video, I'm looking at it, I says, oh yeah, that white line goes off to one side. That's definitely the same deer, So then I goes back there the next year, and this is when I still went through that thing with the drop away rest. It was broken. I goes in there, calls to it. I think I told the story in the last thing, but I never actually got to look at the film since the last time I've actually been here.
Yeah.
And I says, oh yeah, it's definitely the same deer, only because of the white on this side of its face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I shot it, and I think I told the story before, I blood trailed it in the swamp for 250 yards in water up to my crotch, and I jumped it on the edge of the place exactly where he seen it come from, and the place that I had, again, back to that place where they liked that one spot to bed, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that was Massachusetts, but by the time I'm going into it to get to where I was, I'm actually in New Hampshire, you know what I mean? But that was one deer that, we both shot at, both hit and didn't
And then how'd you find a...
4 days after I shot it, someone else that I know, I cut through their property. She says, Jim, there's a big dead deer in my yard. Do you want it? This is 4 days after I shot it, I says, well Pina, how long has it been there? Well, I left here at noontime, it wasn't there, and it's there now. I says, well, does it horns? Yeah, it's got big horns. I says, well, I'm going to come over, Is there a hole in it? Oh, I'm not going near that thing, she says. So I went there, and I calls him up. I says, Keith, I'm standing next to that deer, it was 187 pounds, but it had just got hit by a car. Both of its back legs were broken, and it made it 120 yards off the road into the yard behind your house. You know what I mean? And that's the story of that one. But that one there was until you look at your own footage, I went 5 years without looking at my footage.
Yeah.
And then you're piecing all these pieces together, and it was pretty cool to see it. You know what I mean?
Where was your arrow shot?
You'll see that in the video when I eventually. It looks like it's pinwheeled with the where it came out. It looks like there's no way the deer could have survived, but it did survive. But I also remember, like I said in the video, first time I did it, it looked like the arrow. I watched the deer run off. It stood there on the side, and it looks like the arrow was laying on the back, the same way with the deer I shot before, which is on video too. And but it didn't. I know it wasn't the arrow that killed the deer. It was the car that actually killed it. You know what I mean? But that was it's hard to get them on video. I mean, the same ones, you know what I mean? I'm talking from a tree stand.
Yeah.
A lot of my history comes from deer with me just looking at them, not from trail cameras, you know?
Yeah.
And I did it with this one 4 times. 3 times I videotaped him following me one way or the other, and one other time I think I called him out of his bed just before dark. He walked by me. It could have been any deer though, but it came from that same exact direction, and it was across that swamp to the same piece, and he looped around and went up like this over the hill and back towards the other way, but I didn't see it that time. I just, so many times I've been in swamps doing a lot of calling, horn rattling or whatever, and by the time the deer actually gets to the edge of the swamp, it's so dark you can't see it, and then I sit in the tree for half an hour.
Because they could be bedding in the very middle of that and take forever to get out.
And they do. I mean, even that one there, I blood trailed that deer. I kind of thought I was going to get it. I didn't look for it. I waited 7 hours to go look for it. I'm blood trailing it in the swamp. The water's up to my crotch. I went 300 yards, like a big loop like this, and I says, man, it's going right back to that bed. What I should have done was, I was 15 feet away from the edge of the swamp where it came from complete water to dry ground again.
Yeah.
I should have just drawn the bow back. And as I was doing it, I kept grunting. I'm walking in there grunting. And I should have drawn the bow back. I probably could have got a shot at it because it got up from me 15 feet away, from here to, closer than that little chair right over there, you know what I mean? So, and if I would have, then at full draw, because I was expecting it to be there, but, I'm 40 years into it and I'm still learning. You know what I mean? Something like that, especially, you know what's going on. I said, man, I'm going to find him dead right in that bed. But I really didn't think I was going to find it because I watched it stop, and like the deer I shot before that, which is another one on video, when I had that broken drop away, the arrow looked like it was laying on its back. And it's like, I'm shooting down at an angle like this. How can I look at this deer broadside and not see the arrow sticking like this? The arrow looks like it's laying there.
Yeah.
But then in the video, you can see that it looks like the arrow hole come out right behind the shoulder. But I know when I said it, I think the video last time I did it was the arrow was hitting 4 inches out of square and 4 inches low and drop away.
You learn a lot from the videos, though.
You do.
Looking back at that footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you just talking about that on the recent video. Recent podcast.
Yeah.
About not knowing exactly where you hit it. People think they hit it in a certain spot and they hit it in a different spot, but when you can go back and look at the footage, it gives you a really good idea where you get it.
Yeah, there's actually one I shot, it's on the video, a Connecticut deer I shot. I can remember I shot it, I think like 44, 43 yards, and I drew back like this, and he was in a tree 100 yards away from me. Remember that one in Connecticut? That 7-pointer I shot with a real long brow tine?
Oh, yeah.
And I watch it, I'm like, I'm going to shoot it right in that opening right there. I draws back like this, puts it on like this. I let the arrow go, and I watch it. I'm watching the flight of the arrow, and I say, oh, man, I just pinwheeled that thing. It ran 125 yards and piled up. And I think, could you see it down? Did you see it? Because it ran towards you, I forget.
No, I could hear you shoot it, but I didn't, couldn't see
and
it.
then we blood trailed it, and this was back, that's got to be 10 years ago now. I don't even know, a long time.
Around there.
But when we got there, I had hit it right in the brisket, in the front of the chest like this. But my eyes told me I just pinwheeled it. Mm-hmm. I could see I don't have one of those glow in the dark things or nothing like that, but I could, I got bright veins, and I watched it flam. I'm watching it. It looks like it just pinwheeled it. But in actuality, the deer is jumping the string, lowering itself down, and actually moves itself back And I talked about that on the video before, about aiming further back at a deer that's 40 yards away or 50 yards away, because if they do jump the string, not only are they going straight down, but they're going back like this, you know. And that just proved it to me, like, you know, deer jumping the string is huge. And so many people that, you know, I listened to one of the podcasts I think you just had out recently, and the guy's talking about they went to Pennsylvania, and it might have been in one of the old podcasts too. He says he went there with 12 arrows and come back with none. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the early 80s, there weren't a lot of deer around here. I'm not sure about right here where I am right now, but even where I live, like, you know, now I see deer. Like, I'm coming back from Tilton, New Hampshire every day, and as I'm coming home, I'm seeing deer on 93 all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, the deer population seems to be doing pretty good.
Everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. And there's just so many, like, you know, Zone 10, unlimited doe tags this year.
Yeah.
2 people, you told me that and Vinny told me that, so I'm sure it's right. I haven't read it. But I mean, it's just...
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
I tell you, there's definitely places that needs it. There's a lot of deer.
Yeah, definitely. Like even that place that I get that brand new place I have across the street, and it's a tree farm in Salem where I hunt, and it's all posted. And man, the deer tracks in there are everywhere. I mean, I went in there late season, and they're just everywhere, you know. And you love it. Kind of lousy when you lose a spot. Like I was talking to him about another place we're going to lose this year, but you know, as soon as those people are gone, we're going back there. We're going to knock on the door again, and we know the people who have let us hunt there for the last 10 years were going to try to write us in to be able to hunt it with a lease. I don't even know what it was, something like that, you know. But I'm sure
they hunt it in perpetuity.
Listen, I'm sure that they told the people they're selling it to. I'm sure they told them about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to get back on that piece of property. Except this time it'd be really nice to be able to go there every day and hunt different edges of the swamp. Because when you go there you got 1 day a week for 4 hours, you better pick your spot good, because you know, you only got 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know. And
it's got to be a good morning spot.
Yeah, it's got to be a good morning spot. You know. And that was we took like 4 or 5 2.5 or 3.5 or 4.5-year-old deer off that property, and that was between the one up on the hill over there. I shot that 8-pointer the last week of December. That 196-pound 6-pointer you shot. That other 8-pointer you shot. That drop time one that I shot. Is that all of them?
Probably not. So you must be getting pretty excited about Huntstock. It's coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, excited. It feels like
what time is it open?
Kind of feels like you're getting married again. It's like
a lot of preparation.
Kind of excited, but then you're not excited, and then you're just kind of like, I know it's going to be fun, but it's going to be a blur, and then it's going to be over. And
listen, I wish I knew how to like work the computer to put it, you know, out there for other people to advertise more, because he's at a 3D shoot the other day, and he hears a couple guys talking about it, right?
Yeah, I talked about it.
I think it's been doing pretty good word of mouth. It's spreading pretty good because it's unique and it's something new, and man, it's gonna be great. It's a lot of fun. It's you know, sometimes you think about something, you envision it, and then then it starts to come to life, and you're like, oh, that actually is how I envisioned it. And just not often that happens, but that's happening with Huntstock. It happens sometimes recording music. I'll write a song, and then I'll do it 100, 200 times in my head, or rehearse it or whatever, and then you go into the recording studio, and if you have a sound engineer there who, you know, isn't kind of getting what you want out of the song, like you tell them, like, no, I want this to do this, or I want this kind of effect, and they're not working well with you there, kind of like how you guys work really good together as a hunting group. Yeah. If you're not on the same page with that person, then the song can just be, you could waste 2 hours in there because it's not how you had rehearsed it and envisioned it hundreds of times. Yeah. But the other day I recorded one. People are going to hear it soon because it's a hunting song. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Oh, cool. That's borders on comedy, too. I mean, that's cool. Keith, you saw my video and thought I was making fun of him for being a meat hunter. A little skit video there. But it's a comedy punk-type song, and I did it hundreds of times, and it's come out exactly how I want it to, and it's great. It feels good, and I feel like Huntstock's doing that, too. It's,
You get a
when you do
vision, you
stuff
work
like that-
towards it, and try to get everything to
hopefully
come
it gets
together.
there. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's like between me and him, we've got a bunch of kills on video, and I've been looking at the film since the last time I've been here. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a few months, and anyways, I just get so much stuff. I'm going through this stuff, and like some of them I actually forgot. I mean, I can't believe I forgot them, and they're really good kills. I mean,
how awesome was it to relive all that?
oh my God, it was, especially when I get into this one here, and and a bunch of other bucks, and just the amount of places. I'm always talking about Dick's places, and I'm like, man, so many of the places I hunt, you really see just how thick it is. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's
if anybody's listening and wants to help Jim go through and edit some of this stuff and put it on videos,
meet us at Hunt Stock.
Yeah, he's
I
looking.
need all the help I can get.
Don't send him emails. He's not going to read them.
That's right. I'm still learning that too. I can't even turn my phone off. No, definitely. I definitely want to get to the point where I start putting them together.
This stuff needs to get out there. I mean, you worked so hard on it.
I know.
Both you guys have worked hard on all that. It's gotta.
How many times just carrying the camera with you is like, even after I shot this deer, I'm coming back across the swamp. I'm holding my bow above my head like this, and the camera catches on a cattail, falls off. I sees it falling, just grabs it as it's hitting the water, but it went in the water. Instantly, I pulled it out, pulled the SD card out, and I'm like, oh my God, I just lost all this film. This 2 years on this, and some of the best video I've ever had for shooting a buck like this, but it stayed on there because I think I pulled it up, but the camera was junk. And I don't even think it got completely in the water. Half in, half out.
Yep.
But I just got lucky enough to grab it, and I think if it would have went all the way in, I would have lost it all.
See, if you're gonna start doing it again, filming more stuff, get in the habit of after every hunt, go to your computer, load it, and then erase the card. Yeah. It has to be, and get a little external hard drive. No, don't just put it on the computer. Like I've got a little 2 terabyte, huge files. Yeah. I've been putting everything for the last 2 years on there. All these 2-hour-long 4K podcasts, and it still doesn't fill up this hard drive. Yeah. But that hard drive is just a gigantic SD card. Yeah. If you do it every time, then you can keep reusing the same memory card, and then you're not worried about if something happens to it, losing everything because you've already backed it up. Huge. Yeah. So when we get into that, say we go with the GoPro ones, are those all SD cards too? Is that they're the little micro SDs though. They're tiny ones. Yeah, I seen it. I'm still learning that stuff too. I was still looking to get a camera like that. That's a little bit big for our bows, but the ones we have is a little bit smaller. You know what I mean? That one would be one to carry up into the stand and put on an arm up in your stand. You know,
that's
if
a lot. Do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a lot.
I'll show you the other one before you guys go. Okay. The one that I just got that's small, and I haven't really even played with it yet, but I've seen what it can do.
Like when I get to the point, like me and him work a gargantuan amount. I know we do. Not only we do the work every single day, but you got to meet people. I can remember years ago when I'd go 90 days without having to meet somebody. Yeah, that gets aggravating. You want to do what you want to do. The other day I just want to shoot 5 arrows every day. So as soon as I get home, I shoot 5 arrows. And then I go on to the next thing. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes just shooting those 5 arrows, it's so hard to find that time because you're busy. You know what I mean?
Yep. I know. I got to learn how to get into a saddle.
We can't find time to collect money sometimes.
Yeah, I know you were talking about.
Really?
I've been so busy with hunt stock, and I just have
back to back
of everything. Even this, like. I finally I went with my wife and my kid to the pool before this, and we're at dinner after, and I'm looking at my phone answering tons of emails about hunt stock and coordinating stuff. And she's like, we should just, let's have dinner. Why are you on your phone? It's like, because hunt stock's coming up in 10 days. I've got Jim and Keith are coming over to the house at 8:30. I can't do the work when I get home. I got to set up all this stuff. It's like, you get busy, and then you forget. I haven't practiced. I haven't shot my bow much this summer. I haven't.
Oh no, I've been shooting. My saddle. I started in with that. I mean, like even today, I got home from work, ate as quick as I could, went downstairs, worked out, shot 4 arrows, came up, got dressed, jumped in my car, went to his house, got there, and like exactly the time I said. It's like. what I should be doing is going to someone's house because I have problems with my freezer with 250 pounds of meat in there. There's the bottom shelf, I don't know what it is, 2 times in the last 3 weeks, there's 1 package of meat unthawed. I mean, I can't make heads or tails of it. But
it's weird.
And just before I came here, every day I go in there and feel the meat to see if it's still frozen. I'm saying, I got to get Jimbo's freezer. But Jimbo's freezer is in Deerfield, New Hampshire. He's going to bring it to Kyle's house tomorrow morning. Yeah. I got to meet someone tomorrow morning, Sunday, so I can't even pick the thing up till Monday after work.
Yeah. You better start eating some meat.
Oh, I mean, listen, I eat deer meat every other day. Every other day.
See that? If you want to have black hair until you're 60,
there you go.
Eat deer meat every day.
Don't buy cow.
It didn't work for me. I haven't eaten it a lot.
All right, guys, we should end it. It's been 2 hours, a fast 2 hours. It's been a
2
pleasure.
hours already? Jeez,
yep.
It goes by fast.
It's been a pleasure, though.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're definitely going to Hunt Stock. We tell everybody that we know we want them to come to. I'm hoping it's a gargantuan bash, and everybody wants to keep coming back. I think with all the publicity from listening to all these guys talk, all these guys from the videos that I watch on YouTube, and as many as I can, I'm psyched to go to it. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't see the views that I want on the ones that are like, why doesn't this get, with Brett Joy and all these, Isaac Young and all these guys, I don't understand why they don't get so many more views when it's so hard to do it out here.
It's just an algorithm, man. It's just you're at the mercy of the algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But those guys are getting good views now. Isaac Young gets some 70,000, view videos. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. They could be millions. Some of the videos that these guys are getting are awesome. And Just Hunt Club, everything is like cinematic. And
they do a really good job.
Really good.
Yeah.
They're starting to grow really fast. Actually, they've gained like 30,000 followers in the last few months.
Yeah.
Well,
they're doing it in the Northeast too. You know what I mean? I got nothing against the Midwest and Iowa. You go to.
Here's my thought on all of that. I know what you're saying about that too. There's nothing against it. It's a little. We like to say that it's a little easier probably to hunt there. But it's the same thing that I hear from Vermonters or people who prefer big woods versus suburban. They say, "Oh, you suburban hunters, it's so easy to hunt there.
Yeah.
It's not easy to hunt big woods."
Yeah.
Okay, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be a really good hunter to kill mature bucks out in the Midwest too. Those guys who are on the hunting public, they're good. They're consistently do it.
They do it.
You know what I mean? Like
they got good quality.
But when you go to a place for the first day and you see 10 huge rack bucks, and the first time I've been there, one of them's a 190-inch buck, the first buck I see. Then I go back, the next year, and the next year I go to another new place, Illinois.
You still got to kill that buck.
Knocking on door, But if you see 10 in
there's
one
more
day,
around.
It takes me 10 years to see 10 here. Out in the field, and you don't see it here. You know what I mean? Like I said, where I live, I can count on one hand how many times I've seen a buck like this cross the road or around me. Out west, the first day I go there, I see 10 in one day.
Well, like when I've dragged that one out of the woods.
Yeah.
The guy that was there was a guy there.
Yeah.
You killed that back in there? I've been hunting in there for 20 fucking years.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
What the hell? There's you gotta really work at it no matter where you're at.
Yeah. It just seems like when I go to some place and I see, like the first time I went out Midwest, I love the idea that I seen all those deer, but to see 10 of them the first day, one of them's a 190-inch buck, you couldn't shoot a buck first, you had to shoot a doe first. That deer came by me with an arrow in its ass and I videotaped it. That was in the late 80s. The next day I went to that same place. I said, man, if a doe comes by, that buck comes out, I can shoot it. Videotape that deer, go right back by me again, and they couldn't shoot it. But I seen that day we drove around because we couldn't hunt till the next day. It was a lottery hunt for the Clinton Lake Nuclear Power Station in Clinton, Illinois, 30-something years ago.
Jeez, that sounds like a place that's going to have big old mongoloid bucks, nuclear racks.
But they were everywhere, But no. It's much more of a challenge in the Northeast, no matter where you are. Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire.
I just think everything is so different. Tracking is a challenge in a different way than bow hunting is.
Yeah.
You can argue, oh, I'm carrying a bow.
Yeah.
You're in the woods. You're shooting a gun. And I come from hunting big woods.
Yeah.
You know, and what do you got to do?
I did it for years too.
What do you got to do to track? You got to find a track, and
Yeah.
then just keep going until you kill it. And if you don't happen, do it the next day. Like, what's so hard about that is the determination. It's more physical, right? But there's like, what's the sense of comparing anything?
Yeah.
Everything is hard. It's just
you got to do it.
Different techniques. It's being persistent at it and having the time to do it.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to get out there.
Time is the major thing.
The perfect snow. Exactly.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
You know, most successful guys have the time to put into it. The
or
right,
they don't,
the right time.
Yeah.
They make
they're
the time.
putting that time into it and suffering in other ways in their life because they're so obsessed with it.
Yeah. I haven't taken a week's vacation in over 10 years for deer hunting.
Yep.
And it's mostly because I kind of got divorced and I got to 50 years old and I'm starting over again. Everything I had was cut in half and, and lost, my whole retirement fund, blah, 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 rah, 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 you know. So, but now I get to the point where I'm getting comfortable again, you know what I mean? And I got to start taking time out, you know what I mean? And even the guys that I work with, they says, listen, no more up north in November. You guys can go if you want. I'm not. Yeah. I want to hunt around.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. He's going to be working all the time.
Yeah. Maybe. No. If one of the guys that I'm working with now is building his own house, those guys were going to Illinois until they found out Kyle, the landlord, wanted him out of the house. They're going to lug 300 acres and make a long story short, those guys didn't go to Illinois, so I didn't get the week off that I thought me and him were going to get. But this year, hopefully.
Make time. Freaking retire, for God's sakes.
Gotta make the time to do it.
I know. You gotta make the time. You have to make the time. Yeah. I'm finally getting comfortable enough now where I'm not worried about money anymore. So.
How about you, Keith?
I'm getting close. Yeah. Maybe
he could retire already, though. Yeah. What? You're 65, right? 64.
In a couple of months, I'll be 65.
65.
Yeah, you can. Well, as far as Social Security, you can take it when you're 62 if you want.
Yeah.
But not yet. Someday. I want to take some more time this year and do some hunting.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks again. It was great.
Yeah.
We'll end it before we get everything shutting off on us.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot, Pat.
Yeah, thank you.